Chapter 768. The round demon walked with hurried steps to the outside of the mountain gate. At this moment, gray clouds covered the entire mountain. Countless Supreme Sect people were already rushing over. The crowd filled the dark sky of the true Devil realm, and a wave of pressure followed. The people of the Devil Sect stood at the top of the mountain, staring at the approaching people in the sky. Their blood-red eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Currently, there were only tens of thousands of Devil Cultivators in the true Devil Sect, but there were more than 600,000 Supreme Sects that were forced over. Not to mention strength, just the disparity in numbers was already so great. Activate all of the sect protecting enchantment. The two demons shouted as they ran, their voices spreading throughout the entire sect. Open the sect protecting enchantment. Open all of the sect protecting enchantment. The roars came one after another, and then the entire outer perimeter of the true Devil Sect was filled with grayish-black light screens. However, their current manpower was limited, and everything they had done was just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It had to be known that the real Devil Sect was not only facing the Supreme Sect, there were also those who were spying on the real Devil Sect, and those who had enmity with the real Devil Sect. At this moment, behind the real Devil Sect, there were still a large number of ferocious demons fighting with the real Devil Sect. The real Devil Sect was already being attacked from both sides, and the situation was extremely critical. Grand Elder. When the two demons saw the round demon walking out of the sect, they were immediately overjoyed and hurriedly ran over. Second Elder, it's been hard on you. The round demon nodded. Grand Elder, now is not the time to talk about this. The army of the Imperial Guard has already arrived, and our frontline army has yet to return to defend. The situation is extremely critical. We must think of a way to delay the Imperial Guard, and wait for the army to return to defend. Only then will we have a chance to survive, otherwise the Imperial Guard and the others will probably flatten the true Devil Sect. The two demons looked anxious, and their excitement caused their speed of speech to increase by quite a bit. When the round demon heard this, he shook his head. Don't worry, the Imperial Guard will not destroy the true Devil Sect that easily. However, it is possible for him to beat the true Devil Sect to the point that they are unable to recover. Grand Elder, what should we do now? Now that you have the key to the Forbidden Land, let the prisoners out. Promise them that if they can defeat the enemy, they will be free. Release them all? Great Elder, this doesn't seem too appropriate, right? Previously, I released the evil blood demon curse. That was only one, and it wasn't much of a hindrance. However, if I were to release all of them, I'm afraid there's no need to worry. The sect is in danger, and we have no obligation to think about the common people. The round demon said solemnly, we only need to protect what we should protect. We don't need to care about anything else. Seeing the serious expression on the round demon's face, the two demons were startled. Then, they turned around and were about to go down to make arrangements. There's no need to do that. Things haven't developed to that point of no return yet. Once we release all those guys, perhaps we will have to suffer the consequences of our own actions. After all, those guys hate our true Devil Sect even more. If they turn around and help the Supreme Sect, then it will be even more difficult for us to fight. At this moment, a voice came from behind. There was a hint of carefreeness in her candid voice, but just from the quality of her voice, one would think that it was a girl. Soon after, Octagon Aniseed's skinny body walked out from the sect. Vice Sect Leader. The two devils and the round demon called out. The heaviness on the faces of the two devils had mostly disappeared. They stood in front of him unscathed, making him feel extremely at ease. However, Octagon Aniseed's words also made him extremely worried. Vice Sect Leader, have you invited the sect leader? The round demon asked. Ugh. This. Octagon Aniseed scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. I knocked on the door, but he didn't open it. Vice Sect Leader, since that's the case, what do you think? The round demon asked. Let's block it for now and wait for the sect leader to come out. He took a deep breath and looked towards the sky. The people of the Supreme Sect were gathering, led by the Imperial Guard and Su Luluo. Like a huge wave that could drown the world, they rushed over. The Imperial Guard held the jade-colored wooden rod and flew over gracefully. His figure was extremely free and easy. People of the True Devil Sect, do you still plan to resist needlessly? Actually, every single one of you can live a good life. Why did you choose to perish and become enemies with us? Do you really want to die that badly? The Imperial Guard's voice was very loud and clear, and his voice carried a strange energy wave that was hard to describe. This energy wave was very obvious, but no one was able to guard against it. It entered people's ears along with the voice, and went straight to their brains. For a moment, the people of the True Devil Sect quietened down, and quietly listened to the words of the Imperial Guard. What we pursue is what we want to pursue in our hearts. We understand what your True Devil Sect is persevering for, because we are actually the same kind of people. Perhaps you will be confused and uneasy, but I can see that you are definitely the kind of people who persevere in your beliefs and never give up. But you have taken the wrong path, you have made a huge mistake. Sometimes what you persist in might not be what you truly want, and now, what you need to do is to change your mistakes and walk the right path, the Imperial Guard continued. Waves of strange energy mixed with these sounds were transmitted over together. The more the people of the True Devil Sect listened, the more entranced they became, and even the two devils could not help but be affected. In fact, the real reason why the Supreme Sect started this war was to spread the teachings. From the very beginning, Su Luluo, to the current Supreme Guard, it was unknown how many times the Supreme Sect had given the True Devil Sect a psychological hint. However, the beliefs and persistence of the people of the True Devil Sect had exceeded their imagination. If it was an ordinary sect, under the drive of force and temptation, they would have already compromised and joined the Supreme Sect, but the True Devil Sect did not. The Imperial Guard wanted to continue bewitching the Devil Cultivator, but at this moment, a voice suddenly interrupted him. Lord Imperial Guard, I feel that your words are very reasonable. However, if these words were to come out of my mouth and enter your ears, wouldn't it be very suitable? It was unknown if it was intentional or not, but his voice was abnormally sharp. After it came out, it was like a knife scraping against glass, causing one's hair to stand on end. Many of the Devil Cultivator's bodies trembled, and immediately regained their senses. The Imperial Guard frowned and turned his head to look at Octagon Aniseed. With a smile on his face, he sat on a rock and looked at the Grand Guard. A just cause has plenty of support, and an unjust cause has little support. Perhaps many spirit cultivator would be afraid of your terrifying limitless profound chi, but I want to tell you, not everyone would be afraid of you, not everyone would choose to remain silent. If your Supreme Sect were to continue, you would only be courting your own destruction, and at that time, you might be able to find your own path. Although it was not as strong as the Imperial Guard, it was not to remove the other party's bewitchment, but to simply arouse the devil blood in the Devil Cultivator's body. In an instant, the devil blood boiled, and the remaining people who were bewitched also woke up, and the boiling blood caused the Imperial Guard's energy wave to no longer be able to affect their bodies. Octagon Aniseed's actions were naturally seen by the Imperial Guard. He also understood Octagon Aniseed's determination. Are you still stubborn? Stubborn? Not really, right? However, we have always worshipped strength. How about this? I will fight you one-on-one, and if you defeat me, we will belong to your Supreme Sect. How about it? Octagon Aniseed laughed. The Imperial Guard looked at Octagon Aniseed and shook his head. Although you are injured and your strength is not as good as mine, I will still not agree to rely on force to lead you onto the right path. This cannot be considered as truly letting you accept the right path. Furthermore, you are only here to stall for time. The Devil Cultivator army at the front lines should still be a day away, but I have set up some illusion arrays along the way, and these illusion arrays might be able to help those lost devil cultivator find themselves, so they should not be able to return within a day." "What?" These words caused the surrounding devil cultivator to cry out in alarm. The frontline army was the last hope of the true devil sect. The earlier they arrived, the less danger the true devil sect would face. But now the Imperial Guard had actually thrown out such news. Without a doubt, this was a heavy psychological blow. In a day's time, it was already very difficult for the true devil sect to defend. If he delayed for another day, the true devil sect would not be able to escape this calamity. "You're scaring me?" Octagon Aniseed suddenly laughed out loud. "You entered the true devil realm from the supreme sect, and walked towards the direction of the demon mountain without stopping. It should have taken you a few days. Originally, according to my calculations, you should have arrived here half a day later, but you arrived early. I really find it hard to believe that you still have the strength to send people to the direction of the Cross-World Gate to set up the illusion array. What you said is just a lie. What a joke. I never thought that the people of your supreme sect would also lie, and lie without blinking. Amazing, admirable, hee." Octagon Aniseed's words were reasonable and convincing. Those who were still worried immediately understood. When the Imperial Guard heard this, he couldn't help but shake his head. Octagon Aniseed didn't believe it. Regardless of whether it was true or false, he would still say it. Otherwise, his morale would be lost. There was nothing more to say. Since the true devil sect was not willing to surrender, he could only rely on force. The Imperial Guard raised the jade-colored rod in his hand and raised it high up. In an instant, countless Supreme Sect people rushed over and lined up in a row, facing the direction of the true devil sect. "You have already lost your last chance. Foolish people," the Imperial Guard shouted loudly. "Since you are unwilling to accept the guidance of the right path, and are unwilling to accept the grace of the divine way, then perish. In the name of the Supreme Tao, I declare that from today onwards, the true devil sect will completely disappear from this world." With that, he put down the jade rod. Crash! The crowd of Supreme Sect immediately surged. Like a dam opening, the flood of people pounced towards the true devil sect. Octagon Aniseed quietly looked at the incoming people, the corner of his mouth raised into a sinister smile. "Let's fight!" He only shouted out 2 words. It was a simple word, but it contained the determination of the devil cultivator to never admit defeat. The great battle finally broke out. Chapter 769. 6. The hoarse voice reverberated in the silent world. It was like the cry of a bird in an empty valley, but also like the howl of a devil in an abyss. The white-robed old man stared at the person in front of him, and the black-robed man also stared at him with blood-red eyes. Around the two of them were tens of millions of Supreme Sect people. There were strong and weak people among them. Some of them had just entered the Supreme Sect, and some of them were old veterans who had been pursuing this path for a long time. However, what was strange was that among these people, from time to time, there would be people whose bodies would suddenly collapse, and they would die without any warning. It was extremely terrifying, and what was even more shocking was that the surrounding Supreme Sect people were not surprised at all, as if what had happened was an extremely ordinary matter. This was the price of pursuing the so-called Supreme Divine Tao, to die from the backlash of the limitless profound Qi. Every single Supreme Sect disciple did not know where they would suddenly die in the next second. Although the limitless profound Qi was special, it was precisely because of its uniqueness that it was difficult for ordinary spirit cultivator's body to bear its power. However, all of this was not within Su Yun's concern. At the moment, he was more concerned about the old man in front of him, whether or not he was willing to hand over the heaven-returning mirror in his hands to him. 5. He continued to shout the numbers. He had already given the final ultimatum. The old man did not dare to act rashly. He could feel the terror contained within the man's sword sheath. It was a powerful force that even the heavens and earth could not compare to. Although it was wrapped in that mystical sword sheath, the aura that leaked out was so terrifying that it was unbelievable. This was the power of a god, a power that even the so-called immortals could not compete with. Perhaps, even if a real person came, they would be extremely fearful. Supreme Sect was not even an immortal, how could they dare to mess around? If I give the heaven-returning mirror to you, are you willing to leave? The old man suddenly asked. Of course. Su Yun answered without hesitation. All right. The old man nodded. With a wave of his hand, a jade-colored round mirror appeared in his palm. This should be the heaven-returning mirror. Su Yun's eyes lit up as he stared at the round mirror. He would protect everyone around him. Father, mother, sister, Hu Qian Mian, Ling Qin Yu, Long Xianli, Su Qing sword ancestor, master subhoodie, Hui Ro Mu Yu, no matter who it was, he would not give up. He would put his life on the line to protect them. Even in the face of a true god, he would never retreat. Give it to me. Su Yun stretched out his trembling hand and said in a hoarse voice. No problem. The old man immediately threw the round mirror at Su Yun. It was so straightforward that no one dared to believe it. The round mirror swayed in the air, and after a while, it landed in front of Su Yun. Although the round mirror was jade green in color, it emitted a faint white light that was dazzling. Su Yun roughly looked around, and his eyes revealed an uncontrollable joy. That's right, it's the heaven-returning mirror, just as the old man from Dark Place described. Su Yun muttered, and immediately touched the round mirror. However, the moment he moved, the old man on the other side also moved. His figure was clearly still in place, but Su Yun had already sensed his approach. It was a speed that not even the void could react to, and not even the speed of light could catch up to. It was probably hard to even describe displacement, but Su Yun, who was under the protection of the Imperial Battle Robe, noticed it immediately. In the end, he still made his move. Su Yun activated the Imperial Battle Robe, releasing his divine power. With him as the center, a vacuum zone was formed. The person who was approaching was instantly forced back a few meters, but he did not give up. Instead, he forcefully withstood the divine power and smashed his palm towards Su Yun's chest. The terrifying divine power that caused countless spirit cultivator to be helpless was actually forcefully broken through by this old man. What kind of terrifying power was this? Su Yun's face turned cold. He grabbed the heaven-returning mirror back, his gaze sweeping coldly at the figure. Although Su Yun was lying at the beginning, but no matter what, he had not started. Coming to the Supreme Sect, his goal was naturally not only for the heaven-returning mirror, but also for his sister, for the true Devil Sect. Things had already developed to this point, and there was no room for redemption. He took a deep breath and threw away the death sword that was pressed against the sword sheath. 1. The sword sheath that was already trembling immediately increased its frequency of trembling, shaking crazily. The pitch-black and heavy sword sheath seemed as if it was about to explode in the next second, causing people to tremble in fear. What was even more unimaginable was that following the sword sheath's trembling, the surrounding space also started to tremble, and even Su Yun's body started to tremble. Bang! The old man broke through the divine power, and his palm directly smashed onto Su Yun's chest. The tyrannical limitless profound chi was like tens of thousands of small bugs. Following his slaps, it entered Su Yun's body and crazily tore at him, as if it wanted to turn his internal organs into a pile of mud. The intense pain was unbearable. His soul seemed to want to escape from his body, and his entire chest was stirred up by the power, as if it could explode at any time. If not for the protection of the Imperial Battle Robe, this attack would have been enough for Su Yun to die 10 times over. However, since he did not die, Su Yun did not need to be courteous. He turned his gaze, his bright red eyes looking at the old man, who was also the so-called sect leader of the Supreme Sect. It's over. Whispers rose. Under the shocked gaze of the supreme sect leader, the limitless sword sheath stopped trembling. There were clearly tens of millions of people roaring around them, but, all of a sudden, it became terrifyingly quiet. It was as if time had stopped. Immediately after, a terrifying and indescribable wave of chi shot out from the sword sheath. Su Yun held onto the sword sheath tightly, and was not forced away by the wave of chi, but the supreme sect leader was unable to resist the wave of chi, and was forced back a few hundred meters. "Stop!" Supreme sect leader stabilized his body, and shouted anxiously. But Su Yun no longer trusted him, and reached out to touch the sword sheath. "Kill! Kill this person!" The supreme sect lord gave his last order. These words seemed to have used up all of his strength to shout them out. The entire primal chaos realm could hear his hoarse roar. However, in the next second, King Chong, a ray of sword light flashed inside the limitless sword sheath. Following that, a sword image suddenly shot out of the sword sheath, connecting the heaven and earth, and slicing the vast sky of the supreme realm into pieces. Countless pitch-black cracks appeared in the sky, and then the sky started to distort like a whirlpool, and the tip of the sword image was connected to the center of the whirlpool. Rumble, 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 the entire supreme sect started to tremble. The earth trembled, the void trembled, and the sky trembled. It was as if a hand was constantly shaking the entire realm. Everyone looked around, indescribably terrified. A premonition of imminent death struck everyone's heart. Ah! The old man stared at the heaven-opening sword shadow that connected the heavens. The madness and fear in his eyes were extremely obvious. "You will destroy all of this. You will destroy the order of the myriad heavens. You will bring about a calamity," the old man shouted at Su Yun. However, these words could not stop Su Yun. The sword shadow moved. It only shook for a moment, and the naked eye could not see its trajectory. Whirlwind, the entire supreme sect quietened down. The tens of millions of supreme sect people froze, like stone men, not moving an inch. And the limitless profound chi that overflowed from the surface of their bodies also completely dissipated in the blink of an eye, leaving nothing behind. The world was frozen in place. In that instant, the sword image that extended out from the sword sheath also suddenly returned to the sword sheath, disappearing without a trace. When the sword image returned to the sword sheath, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. When it appeared, even Su Yun, who was wearing the imperial battle robe, felt an incomparable pressure, and only when it left did he return to normal. Su Yun held onto the sword sheath tightly, gasping for breath. His eyelids became heavier and heavier, but he understood that once he closed his eyes, he would never be able to open them again. Hiss, 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 hiss. At this time, a strange sound rang out in the entire silent primal chaos realm. The bodies of the countless supreme sect people that occupied the sky in the distance slowly dispersed. It was like a pink mist being blown by the wind, slowly evaporating. Everyone's body turned into mist. No one could survive, not even their souls. Millions of existences were killed in one move. A huge fog spread throughout the entire supreme realm. No one in the entire realm survived. They were all erased. There was no earth-shattering sword intent. There was no terrifying destruction. Clean and tidy. There was only one sword to clear it. This was the power of the evil sword. The world had become deathly silent. The darkness left behind by the disciple gradually spread out. Su Yun suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood glowed as it fell from the sky into the endless abyss below. Although Su Yun was close to the sword sheath and used it to avoid the evil sword chi, it would be a lie to say that he was completely unaffected and that he was safe and sound. Furthermore, these tens of millions of people had died in front of his eyes, and because of him, Su Yun's state of mind had changed. If he said that he did not feel anything at all, then he should not be called a human, but just a walking corpse. The current Su Yun's heart was in a mess. It was an indescribable mess, and it was impossible to sort out his thoughts. Crack. Compared to the hissing sound, this sound was even more ear-piercing. Su-yun turned to look, only to see that not far away, the Supreme Sect Lord's body had split open, turning into fist-sized pieces that fell downwards, and then, his vigorous soul directly floated out from his body. His body had been destroyed, but his soul still existed? Su-yun stared and praised in his heart. In the end, he was the sect leader of the Supreme Sect, to actually be able to preserve his soul under the attack of the evil sword. Powerful. Currently that he was heavily injured, with such a weak body, it would be difficult for him to walk out of the Supreme Sect. Why not? Su-yun suddenly thought of something. He stared at the overflowing soul, and suddenly rushed over. The soul of the Supreme Sect Lord seemed to have sensed Su-yun's intentions, and immediately turned to escape. But at that moment, all the people from the Supreme Sect had been purged. People, objects, array seal, magic treasure, mechanisms, floating platforms, statues, equipment, and so on, there was nothing left. The entire interface was empty, leaving only one person and one soul. Su-yun used all his strength to get close to the soul of the Supreme Sect Lord, then opened his mouth wide and swallowed it all. The soul contained an endless amount of divine power. Once it entered his body, Su-yun poured his own profound strength onto the imperial battle robe, using the divine power of the battle robe to refine the soul of the Supreme Sect Lord. In the pitch-black void, a person was floating cross-legged. Chapter 770. The battle between the True Devil Sect and the Supreme Sect had already erupted. Relying on the sect's defense system, the people of the True Devil Sect could still defend for the time being, but there were too many people in the Supreme Sect, and their Profound Chi's attribute was special, restraining most of the Profound Chi's attribute, and the Devil Chi was no exception. After fighting for less than an hour, the people of the True Devil Sect had already retreated to the inner walls of the sect, relying on the sect protecting array to contend with the people of the Supreme Sect. There were 9 layers of grayish-black enchantments floating in the sky above the sect, and outside the enchantment were countless Supreme Sect people. They were like locusts, clinging to the barrier, not attacking, but continuously activating the limitless Profound Chi, using the absorption nature of the limitless Profound Chi to crazily nibble away at the barrier. The barrier, which was originally a meter thick, had been nibbled away to half an inch in less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn. The barrier would not defend against attacks from the inside, so the people of the True Devil Sect could attack the people of the Supreme Sect who were clinging to the barrier like a live target. It was just that there were too many people in the Supreme Sect. Even if they were to launch such a suicidal attack, it would be difficult to destroy them in a short period of time. On the other hand, if the barrier continued to be consumed at this rate, it would probably be broken in less than half a day. At that time, the people of the Supreme Sect would rush in and fight head-on. The True Devil Sect would have no chance of winning. Vice Sect Leader, what should we do now? The 2 devils looked at the barrier above their heads and were extremely anxious. Wait! Octagon Aniseed sat on the ground, then rested his cheeks on his hands and dozed off. Ugh! Vice Sect Leader. However, a moment later, he heard the sound of snoring coming from Octagon Aniseed. Since we're waiting, then let's wait. The Vice Sect Leader should have his reasons. We don't need to be too anxious, the Round Demon said in a deep voice. Hearing the Round Demon say this, the 2 demons could only endure their anxiety. Bang! The first layer of the barrier was finally broken. The people of the Supreme Sect continued to pounce towards the next layer of the barrier. Although the Devil Cultivator's attacks were fierce, they were unable to stop the people of the Supreme Sect. They were not afraid of death at all, and when the Profound Technique attacked, they did not even dodge, much less defend. The dead Supreme Sect people laid on the barrier and continued to endure the attacks of the True Devil Sect people, while the Supreme Sect people behind them would lie on their corpses and continue to activate the limitless Profound Chi to eat the barrier. No one went to rescue the souls of the dead. The Imperial Guard and Su Luluo were accompanied by a group of higher-ups, watching from afar, watching the success or failure. "This is too slow." Just then, the Imperial Guard suddenly spoke up. He took out a scroll and handed it over to Su Luluo. "Use this." "Yes." Su Luluo took the scroll and flew out. She flew to the top of the true Devil Sect's defensive barrier, which was also the center of the Supreme Sect's group. Then, she raised the scroll in her hand and used the profound chi to open it. The scroll opened and enlarged infinitely, turning into a piece of parchment that was nearly 1,000 feet long and wide. On the parchment there were a large number of strange characters, as though they were characters exclusive to the people of Supreme Sect. Ordinary people would not be able to understand them at all. In that moment, the bodies of the Supreme Sect people who were pouncing on the barrier all released a dazzling white light. When the white light appeared, the frequency of the limitless profound chi-s of the Supreme Sect people suddenly increased by nearly 10 times. On the other hand, the bodies of the Supreme Sect people who were using the limitless profound chi to consume the barrier were also splitting apart at an extremely fast speed. Because the profound chi in their bodies were being transported too quickly, it caused the chi meridian to explode. The profound chi was rushing around in their bodies, and their bodies were unable to withstand it. Seeing this scene, the people of the true Devil Sect were completely stunned. He had seen madness, but he had never seen such madness. A 5th-stage Sky Spirit Master Cultivator from the Supreme Sect lasted for less than 10 seconds before his body exploded and died. However, the amount of profound chi he released was extremely terrifying and forcefully dug a hole in the barrier. However, when one person died, they would immediately follow and crawl on top of the shattered corpse. Following that, they would continue to use the profound chi to tear it apart. At every moment, there would be Supreme Sect people dying. The number of Supreme Sect people who died because of the profound chi was countless times more than the number of people who died in the hands of the true Devil Sect. If it was said that the people of the Supreme Realm had launched a suicidal attack before, then it could be said that they were committing collective suicide now. If this goes on, the 9 layers of enchantments won't even be able to hold on for 2 hours. Vice Sect Leader, we must take a countermeasure. The 2 demons roared. Vice Sect Leader, immediately open the barrier and rush out to fight them. A Devil Cultivator ran over and shouted sinisterly. Right, let's fight them to the death. What? Octagon Aniseed, who was still dozing off, was shocked. He rubbed his drowsy eyes and looked left and right. Then, his eyes swept across the situation above him. Seeing that the 8th layer of enchantment had also been broken, he smiled and said, "Don't worry, isn't there still a 7th layer of enchantment?" Immediately have everyone stop their attacks on the Supreme Sect, use the Devil Chi to charge the enchantment, and strengthen the enchantment. Octagon Aniseed continued. Vice Sect Leader, don't say any more. Hurry up and go. Octagon Aniseed yawned, then leaned against the rock and fell asleep. Seeing that, the 2 devils' faces were filled with confusion. They looked at the round demon and nodded, then turned around to set up the formation. Very quickly, the Devil Cultivator in the Devil Sect stopped their attacks. All of them gathered Devil Chi and attacked the enchantments. Streams of Devil Chi blew into the enchantment like a gale and immediately disappeared. The thickness of the enchantment began to increase, but the speed at which the enchantment increased could not keep up with the speed at which it weakened. Octagon Aniseed's measure only managed to alleviate the situation and delay for a short period of time. The people of the Supreme Sect were still using their lives to exchange for the enchantment, and the people of the true Devil Sect were still desperately channeling Devil Chi to strengthen the enchantment. However, 2 hours had passed, and there were only 4 layers of the enchantment left. The remaining 4 layers would probably only last for 2 hours, and if the true Devil Sect did not take any action, the barrier would completely disappear. The round demon quietly looked at the layers of broken barriers. There was not the slightest bit of anxiety on his face, forming a sharp contrast with the two devils who were scurrying around anxiously. Use the demon smearing formation to increase the devil chi. Quick, set up the formation. Take out all of the magic tools, don't feel heartache. This battle is a matter of life and death. If we don't do our best, we will only perish. The roars of the two devils resounded through every corner of the wall, but his shouts could not stop the supreme sect. Clang, clang, clang. One enchantment after another was corroded and shattered. The situation became more and more serious. As time passed, only one layer of enchantment remained. The supreme sect people above were less than 100 meters away from the true devil sect people. There's no other way. The two devils clenched their teeth as they looked up with their blood-red eyes. Give the order. Tell everyone to prepare to fight to the death. At this time, the round demon finally spoke. Seeing that, the devil cultivator all stopped the transmission of devil chi and pulled out the battle swords from their waist. All the injured devil cultivators in the house also walked out spontaneously. Some of them had their arms cut off, some had a large hole in their abdomen, some were blind, some had their legs broken, but no one was afraid. They gathered together, holding their swords and sabers as they stared at the enemy above. Even though the enemy outnumbered them, they did not retreat, much less escape. The sleeping octagon aniseed slowly opened his eyes and stood up. He didn't say anything, but walked to the front and activated the devil chi. In fact, at this point, there was nothing he could do. This was a group of complete lunatics, and it was impossible to stop them with schemes. They had to fight for more time and wait for the frontline army to return. However, the Supreme Sect's movements were much faster than they had imagined, and the only thing they could do now was to fight to the death. He had been dozing off the entire time because he had no other choice. He was injured and had to recover quickly, and the dozing off in people's eyes was actually his special way of adjusting his breathing. However, many people did not know that the reason why they showed such indifference was to prevent the confidence of the people of the true devil sect from being destroyed by the other party's strength. If the vice sect leader was not anxious, would they still be anxious? But at this point, everything could not go on. It's over. The Imperial Guard stared at the last barrier, suddenly let out a low shout, and suddenly disappeared. Clang! The last enchantment shattered, and in front of the enchantment stood the figure of the Imperial Guard. He held the jade-colored rod in one hand and forcefully shattered the last enchantment. This time, the Imperial Guard didn't say a word of nonsense. He pointed the jade rod at Octagon Aniseed and the others and said, "Punish them! Kill!" Almost at the same time, Octagon Aniseed growled. In that moment, the devil cultivator was the first to move. Kill! One angry roar after another erupted from the true devil sect. The devil chi was like a raging storm that swept out of the sect, no matter if it was the injured devil cultivator or the exhausted profound chi, no matter if it was the elders or the ordinary disciples. At that moment, all of them rushed towards the Supreme Sect people. Compared to the entire Supreme Sect, the people of the true devil sect were just a small group. However, these devil cultivator had already abandoned their lives without hesitation. The people of Supreme Sect were like dumplings, surrounding the devil cultivator that were pouncing towards the sky, the limitless profound chi attacking from all directions. The devil cultivator at the outermost layer was directly crushed into pieces by the limitless profound chi and died, but the devil chi that was shot out was not eliminated by the people of Supreme Sect. It crashed into the crowd, causing a large amount of blood to splash out. One after another, the pitch-black profound technique exploded, intertwining with the grayish-white profound chi. The sky changed color and the earth darkened. With his 8 teeth injured, he could not use much of his strength, but he still chose to grit his teeth and persevere. Great Elder Yuan Mo, Vice Sect Leader, what instructions do you have? The round demon slapped a nearby Supreme Sect person to death, turned his head and asked. When this matter is over, remember to tell the sect master on my behalf. Say what? Tell them that if I die, it's all his fault. Who told him to stay in the cultivation ground and not come out? With a smile, he leaped up and took the lead, rushing into the crowd of Supreme Sect people. With a few palm strikes, the terrifying Devil Chi shattered the enemy's body. The round demon was silent. After a long while, he finally shouted, "If you want to say it, you have to go talk to the sect master yourself." Then, he followed suit. The Imperial Guard quietly looked at the 8 teeth in the crowd. His sword-like eyebrows slightly furrowed as an imposing aura pressed down on the 8 teeth. There is still a large amount of limitless profound chi in his body. If we draw out this power, it will be enough to shatter his body, the Imperial Guard said indifferently. He then raised his hand and quickly formed a few hand seals towards the 8 teeth. Then, he closed his mouth and quickly muttered something. Octagon Aniseed's expression changed slightly. He had obviously sensed it. He turned his head and stared at the Imperial Guard, then immediately rushed over. However, just as he moved, a figure quickly appeared in front of him and struck his head with a palm. Its aura was ferocious and brutal. It was Su Luluo. Octagon Aniseed anxiously retreated, dodging the attack. However, no one stopped the Grand Guard. The limitless profound chi that was temporarily suppressed by the round demon had already become restless. Is it over? A smile appeared on his pale face, but it was a bitter smile. It couldn't change anything. At this moment, the Imperial Guard in the distance suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of golden blood. He slowly fell from the sky and fiercely crashed onto the ground. Seeing this scene, Octagon Aniseed was stunned. Chapter 771. Bang! The Imperial Guard's body smashed onto the ground. His face was pale, and his chest was heaving up and down. A few Supreme Sect people immediately rushed over and helped him up. "Lord Imperial Guard, what's wrong?" Su Luluo asked indifferently. The Imperial Guard stood up again, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and stared coldly at the people of the true Devil Sect. Clenching his teeth, he said, "Something happened to the Holy Gate." What? When he said that, many of the Supreme Sect people's hearts jumped. Something happened to the Supreme Sect? Who dared to touch the Supreme Sect? Don't worry, with the sect leader overseeing the Supreme Sect, nothing big will happen. It must be some filthy people who took advantage of the fact that we were punishing the true Devil Sect to ambush our Holy Gate. Everyone, hurry up and purify these filthy people and return to the Holy Gate, the Imperial Guard shouted. Yes, sir. For the Supreme Divine Tao. The members of the Supreme Sect shouted excitedly. The Imperial Guard stood up once again and stared at Chi-Chi in the distance. He planned to accumulate another spell and detonate the limitless profound chi in Chi-Chi's body. However, accidents happened one after another. A golden bolt of lightning suddenly cut through the pitch-black night sky of the true Devil Sect. Following that, a large amount of multicolored light overflowed from the sky. As if a hole had been torn in the sky, multicolored light continuously fell. Following that, a large number of figures could be seen rushing out from the multicolored light. These people were all dressed in golden robes and armor, their killing intent overflowed in all directions, their domineering aura was unparalleled. They rushed out of the crack and pounced towards the Supreme Sect people. Their aura was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. The Supreme Sect people were caught off guard and immediately counterattacked, but the moment the golden armored team appeared, the Supreme Sect people fell into a situation where they were attacked from all sides, and what was even more surprising was that there were a lot of golden armored troops, and the cracks continued to pour out like beans. In less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn, close to 1 million people had surged out. There were over 1 million of them. The entire sky was filled with people. Who is it? The Imperial Guard roared loudly. A person who wants you to live, and who wants you to die, and who wants you to die. An angry and domineering roar came out from the crack, Following that, a gilded carriage pulled by 33 divine horses appeared in the sky. The sky was illuminated by the golden light. Martial Imperial Hall. The Imperial Guard frowned. Are you guys going to start a war with my supreme sect? What? Does my Martial Imperial Palace not have the qualifications to destroy your supreme sect? Shen Wu Huang, who was in the carriage, snorted coldly. He immediately opened the curtains and walked out, pulling out a slender golden blade from his waist. The blade pointed straight at the sky. Exterminate the people of Supreme Sect. Don't leave a single one alive. Kill! Kill! The people of the Martial Imperial Hall were in high spirits as they fought to be the vanguard. This torrent descended from the sky, forcibly splitting apart the unbreakable Supreme Sect. Another bunch of lunatic. A bitter smile appeared on his pale face. The people from the Martial Imperial Palace have made a move? Are they here to support us? The two devils were still in a daze. Looking at the golden figures that filled the sky, their tired faces had the urge to cry. Although I knew they would come, I didn't expect them to come so soon. He smiled. How do you know? A few days ago, the envoy who went to the Martial Imperial Palace returned, and also brought back the news from the Martial Imperial Palace, but I am unable to predict Shen Wu Huang's decision, so I did not tell you guys about it. No matter what, since he is here, then we will not lose this battle. Pass down the order, kill the enemy with all your might, and work together with the people of the Martial Imperial Palace to attack the Supreme Sect. Not a single one of them are to be let off. Octagon Aniseed's expression changed as he said in a deep voice. The two devils immediately nodded, put away their tiredness, and shouted, Yes, Vice Sect Leader. The arrival of the people from the Martial Imperial Palace caused the situation to take a huge turn. The people of the Supreme Sect, who originally had victory in their hands, never expected that the Martial Imperial Palace would suddenly interfere. An uncontrollable anger surfaced on the Imperial Guard's face. People of the Martial Imperial Palace, you were born filthy. How dare you touch my sacred gate? Since you have provoked the sacred gate today, then, your fate will be the same as the real Devil Sect, and become the dust of history. With that, the Imperial Guard held onto the jade rod and rushed towards Shen Wu Huang. The limitless profound qi wrapped him up like a dumpling. With the protection of the profound qi, his path was unimpeded, and he was invincible. You dare to spar with me? It's a little too tender, let that person come over. Shen Wu Huang snorted. He did not make a move, but instead, a figure shot out from the carriage, and swiftly smashed towards the Imperial Guard. Wah! The figure exploded with a domineering golden light, and like a missile, it smashed onto the body of the Imperial Guard. Bang! The explosion caused the two of them to retreat. The Imperial Guard's profound qi was shaken to the point that he was in a daze, but that figure was not in a good state either. It was a young girl with snow-white skin and a ponytail. She wore a gold-rimmed white robe and held a blade and a sword in her hands. She was full of heroic spirit and did not die after exchanging a blow with the Imperial Guard. It could be seen that this young girl's strength was not simple. However, the Imperial Guard was still the Imperial Guard. In a head-on clash, the young girl's qi and blood were surging and she was injured. However, upon seeing this, Shen Wu Huang, who was at the side, praised him greatly. The Supreme Guard is the personal bodyguard of the Supreme Sect Master. It can be said that his cultivation is the true inheritance of the Supreme Sect Master. His cultivation is not ordinary. For you to be able to exchange one move with him, you have not let down the guidance that I have given you over the past few days. You have not let down the years that our Chun family has nurtured you. Uncle, you flatter me. Go boldly and give it your all. I will hold the fort for you. Shen Wu Huang shouted. Yes, sir. The young girl focused her eyes, raised her sword and blade, and once again charged towards the Imperial Guard. Not far from Shen Wu Huang, Shen Shue flew out from the crowd. She did not attack the Supreme Sect people, but looked around anxiously, searching for something. Not long later, her blazing eyes were glued to a beautiful young lady in the Supreme Sect group. Luluo! An excited cry rang out from the army. Shin Shue Shue covered her lips, and tears flowed out again. Although she was eager to save her daughter, she knew that in this chaotic situation, charging in alone was no different from courting death. Immediately, Shin Shue Shue flew towards Shen Wu Huang. Father! Luluo is over there, please quickly take action and save her. Shin Shue Shue shouted anxiously. When Shen Wu Huang heard Shin Shue Shue's shout, he turned his head and looked in Su Liluo's direction. After a moment of silence, he said, "The situation is very chaotic now, I cannot bring that girl back for you for the time being. But, Father, if you have the ability, you can go yourself. Since when did my Shin clan like to borrow the hands of others?" Shin Wu Huang snorted coldly. Hearing that, Shin Shueshu understood that Shin Wu Huang's attitude towards him and Su Luluo was not very good. This time, Shen Wu Huang was able to make a move, and had already given him a lot of face. If he were to push his luck, it would make him angry out of embarrassment. Shin Shue Shue sighed. He did not dare make a sound, and could only wait and see. With the help of the martial imperial palace, the pressure on the people of the true devil sect was greatly reduced. The two sides worked together to attack the Supreme Sect, and the Supreme Sect was already forced to retreat. Immediately inform the Holy Gate to send more Holy Army over. There are too many filthy and malicious people, and with just our strength, it is not enough to purify them. Su Luluo said to the Supreme Sect beside him. Yes, sir. The man turned and flew away. However, before this fellow could fly far, a pitch-black arrow pierced through his chest. The arrow pierced through him and immediately turned into flames, burning his body to ashes. Su Luluo frowned. She looked towards the direction where the arrow came from, only to see a slender black line appearing in the distant horizon, followed by a wave of majestic and heavy horn sounds. Woo! The sound reverberated through the world. A few devil cultivators carried huge black flags and soared in the sky. Thick black clouds filled the sky. The clouds were extremely dense, almost completely devouring the golden light of the martial imperial palace. A cold wind blew, causing one to shiver. Murderous intent gradually drifted between heaven and earth. That is the main force of the true devil sect. Seeing that, the morale of the people of the true devil sect was immediately boosted. Some of them were even thinner. Raising their blades high up, they roared hysterically. They're back! They're back! The roars did not stop. Everyone was extremely excited. The round demon and the two demons anxiously looked into the distance, only to see the tyrannical devil chi in the horizon. The clouds dissipated, and countless devil cultivators flew over. This was simply like a pitch-black wave, pouncing towards the Supreme Sect people from afar. The front lines of the true devil sect had finally returned. Countless people looked up. There were definitely close to 1 million of them. One had to know, not only were there people from the true devil sect, there were also a large number of rogue cultivators. Although the powers had already left, the rogue cultivators were still there, and there were many experts among them. The situation had been completely reversed. Although the limitless profound Qi could restrain many attributes, it could not withstand the sea of people. The people of the true devil sect were fighting to the death. All of them were not afraid of death. They rushed over, not caring if they had profound Qi or not. They used their bodies to fight. It was especially terrifying. With the current full power of the true devil sect and the martial imperial palace, even if the two superpowers were to join hands, it would be impossible for them to defeat them. The Imperial Guard exchanged a few blows with the young lady and gained the upper hand. However, he was not happy, because the current battle situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous to the Supreme Sect. If he continued to drag this on, the situation would only get worse and worse. Under the attack of the ocean of people, the people of the Supreme Sect continued to die, their corpses falling down like rain. Previously, when they attacked the True Devil Sect, the Supreme Guard's actions had already caused a lot of Supreme Sect's people to die. How could they resist these two huge armies now? It seems like I won't be able to punish you filthy things today. The Imperial Guard held onto the jade rod, his figure flashed, and suddenly appeared 1,000 meters away. He raised his hand and shouted, "Retreat for now, wait for my Supreme Sect to regroup, we will fight again in the future. Retreat." With that, he was about to leave. However, how could Xin Wu Huang and Qi Go let the Imperial Guard leave just like that? If they did not kill him today, there would be endless troubles in the future. The two of them immediately took action and chased after the Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard did not panic, although his strength was not as good as Shen Wu Huang's. It was not difficult for him to protect himself, and with his 8 teeth injuries, he was not a big threat. Immediately, the Imperial Guard held onto the jade rod and retreated. Before his figure had even disappeared, his physical body had already fled 1,000 miles away. Chapter 772. When the Imperial Guard gave the order to retreat, the people of Supreme Sect began to retreat in an orderly manner. They were different from their usual retreat, they walked in an orderly manner, no one was in a hurry, no one was fighting, you go, I go, facing the attacks of the True Devil Sect and the Martial Imperial Palace. They only resisted symbolically. As a result, there were a lot of Supreme Sect people who died, but there were also a lot of people who ran away. When the Supreme Sect people retreated, Su Luluo naturally planned to leave as well. However, how could Xin Shueshue, who had been paying attention to her from the side, let her leave just like that? He immediately rushed over and shouted, "Luluo!" However, Su Luluo turned a deaf ear to him, as if he did not hear his mother calling him, and continued to leave with the Supreme Sect people. "Luluo! It's Mother, Luluo! Mother is here!" Xin Shueshue was extremely anxious, she cried out in grief, but her call could not get Su Luluo's attention at all. Seeing that, Xin Shueshue finally could not take it anymore, she immediately activated her qi and rushed towards Su Luluo. However, at that moment, Su Luluo was surrounded by a large number of Supreme Sect people. Just as she approached, some of the Supreme Sect people noticed her, and a terrifying limitless profound qi swept towards her face. Xin Shueshue was shocked. He anxiously urged his qi to block. Bang! When the limitless profound qi struck her profound qi, it actually corroded more than half of it. Before Xin Shueshue could recover from his shock, waves of killing intent surged over again. He anxiously looked around, only to see that there were more than 10 Supreme Sect people around him, all of them rushing towards Xin Shueshue at the same time. Xin Shueshue was startled. Although she was Xin Wu Huang's daughter, she had left the Martial Imperial Palace a long time ago. Xin Wu Huang did not have many martial arts, and his strength was not high either. Facing such an attack, it was impossible for her to receive it. Xin Shueshue looked deeply at the figure whose back was facing him, took a deep breath, and clenched his fists tightly. No one knew the complicated and helpless feelings in her heart. Her daughter was right in front of her, but she couldn't recognize her. How painful would that be? Xin Shueshue did not want to give up. Although she was in a dangerous situation, her instinctive reaction still made her resist. Although she couldn't take it, she knew that she had already done her best. It was just that she was still worried about that girl. Whoosh! At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared beside Xin Shueshue. Then, a sword and a saber were raised, and a large amount of sword qi and saber qi spread out like a spider web, slashing towards Xin Shueshue's surroundings. These auras were especially sharp, directly sealing off the attacks of the Supreme Sect people. If they did not dodge, they would definitely be cut into pieces. The few Supreme Sect disciples did not pay attention to them, and directly rushed over, and were directly cut to death. The rest of the people saw that the situation was not right, and did not rush over, but took a detour, but this also gave Shin Shueshue and that person time. The two of them immediately broke away from the encirclement, and rushed towards the martial imperial palace. When Shin Shueshue was brought to a safe area, she took a closer look and found that the one who saved her was actually that young girl. Sister Shue, don't be rash. Luluo has been bewitched by the Supreme Sect. If you charge in like this, not only will you not be able to save Luluo, you will also lose your life. The young girl said seriously. But if we don't act now, are we going to watch Luluo leave? Shin Shueshue's face was filled with anxiety. Sister Shue, I know you are eager to save your daughter, but you cannot be too hasty. Right now, Uncle has gone to capture the Imperial Guard. If you can capture the Imperial Guard, you can completely use the Imperial Guard to save Luluo, and even use him to wake Luluo up. Isn't that better? The young girl said again. Hearing that, Shin Shueshue's eyes lit up. You're right, no wonder father went to chase after the Imperial Guard, so it was actually for Luluo. Great, but the Imperial Guard's cultivation is not simple. Can father catch him? The Imperial Guard is indeed very strong. After exchanging a few blows with him, I realized that there is still a gap between us. However, compared to Uncle, he is still far from it. Don't worry, I should be able to capture him, the young girl said. Shin Shueshue nodded his head, looking at the young lady in front of him. He could not help but sigh. All these years, I have truly wronged you. Elder sister is useless, and cannot inherit father's cultivation. If not for you, the future of the martial imperial palace would be unknown. There's nothing to be wronged about. Back then, I was the one who asked my uncle to go to the Sky Martial Continent to train. Pursuing the martial way is my lifelong goal, and I did this not just for the martial imperial palace. No matter what, I still have to thank you. The young girl nodded. Elder sister is too polite. We are sisters, there is no need for this. Shen Wu Huang and Qi Go chased after him. Behind them were the experts of the two sects, as well as the rogue cultivators who were excited. Everyone was like a rabbit, chasing after the Imperial Guard relentlessly. The Imperial Guard was the personal guard of the Supreme Sect leader. His cultivation was strong and his abilities were extraordinary. If he did not kill him here, there would be endless troubles in the future. Imperial Guard, halt! You bewitched my brother to enter your Supreme Sect and destroyed him in the Supreme Divine Tao. Today, I want your life as a sacrifice to his spirit in heaven. Imperial Guard, your Supreme Sect has done many evil deeds. Sooner or later you will be destroyed. It's useless for you to escape. Even if you escape to the ends of the earth, I will skin you alive. Halt! The rogue cultivators roared with all their might. However, Grand Elder Wei Li ignored them and continued to fly forward. Octagon Aniseed's speed was not fast, after all. He was injured and his body was weak, so he had to rely on Shen Wu Huang to chase after him. Shen Wu Huang was too lazy to waste time with the Imperial Guard. He roared, and like an eagle, he instantly flew into the sky, and when he appeared again, he directly landed in front of the Imperial Guard, and his body quickly enlarged. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into a giant that was as big as a mountain, his body shining with light like a god of war. Shen Wu Huang became big, and quickly grabbed towards the Imperial Guard with his palm. Die! A thunderous roar came out from the giant Shen Wu Huang's mouth. Holy One Limitless! The Imperial Guard swung the jade rod, and a circle of ripples shot out from the top of the jade rod, dispersing towards the big hand. When it touched the big hand, it immediately solidified like a layer of glass. It blocked Shen Wu Huang's hand. One Qi to the heavens! The Imperial Guard cast his technique again. With a spin of his body, the jade rod shot out another ray of Qi that soared into the sky. The Qi passed through the layer of glass and directly struck Shen Wu Huang's huge palm, forcefully opening a bloody wound on the palm. Seeing that, Shen Wu Huang was enraged. His heaven-shaking roar exploded again. "Reckless fool, how dare you go against this emperor? Die!" As the roar rang out, the crack immediately healed. At the same time, the glass also shattered, and a tyrannical force covered it. Although the Imperial Guard behind the glass was not weak, how could he contend against Shen Wu Huang? Immediately, he fell from the sky and crashed into the ground. He couldn't even stand up straight. Shen Wu Huang's huge hand stored a ball of profound qi, and fiercely smashed towards the Imperial Guard. Dong! It was as if the entire true devil realm was trembling. When he raised his fist, the profound qi stayed behind and quickly condensed into a gigantic mountain, directly suppressing the Imperial Guard at the foot of the mountain. Octagon Aniseed and the rogue cultivators rushed over. Looking at the Imperial Guard who was pressed down by the mountain, they immediately moved to capture him. The Imperial Guard was indeed very strong, but the most outstanding thing about Shen Wu Huang was not his profound skill, but his martial skills and strength. These were not things that the limitless profound qi could eliminate, so the Imperial Guard was not Shen Wu Huang's opponent, and from this, it could be deduced that the martial Imperial Palace was actually able to restrain the Supreme Sect, but, compared to the rules of the martial Imperial Palace, the difference was not just a little bit, even if the innate advantage could be restrained. But the number of people in the Supreme Sect was countless times more than the martial Imperial Palace. And this time, the Imperial Guard had only brought a portion of the Supreme Sect's people over, while Shen Wu Huang had pulled more than half of the sect's power, so the situation naturally could not be compared. Boom! When Octagon Aniseed got close to the mountain, it split open and the Imperial Guard rushed out. His clothes were in tatters, his hair was disheveled, and he was in a sorry state. However, his aura did not decrease, and he did not linger in battle as he immediately fled. Looking at the Imperial Guard's momentum, it would not be easy to stop him. "You can run away?" Shen Wu Huang snorted coldly. He took huge strides and chased after the Imperial Guard. The gigantic Shen Wu Huang was extremely terrifying. With a single step, he had crossed 1,000 miles. It was comparable to teleportation. The Imperial Guard's speed was simply not as fast as Shen Wu Huang. With a punch, the Imperial Guard fell from the sky to the ground. Following that, Shen Wu Huang stepped on the ground, and the Imperial Guard was once again embedded into the soil. But at that moment, Shen Wu Huang had already used his death move. The gigantic foot that was stepping on the Imperial Guard's body released a terrifying golden qi. The qi was like a blade, crushing the ground into pieces. The Imperial Guard below naturally did not feel good. Although the limitless profound qi had offset a portion of the qi, Shen Wu Huang's profound qi was too dense. Even he could not completely offset it. When the rogue cultivators saw Shen Wu Huang's divine might, their morale was greatly boosted. "Everyone, don't chase after him blindly. What we should do is seal off the Imperial Guard's escape route and cooperate with Shen Wu Huang to capture him. Right now, the Imperial Guard wholeheartedly wants to return to the Supreme Sect. You should take advantage of this time to quickly seal off the entrance to the Supreme Sect and prevent him from leaving. This way, the Imperial Guard will not be able to escape." At this time, Octagon Aniseed said to the rest of the Spirit Cultivator. When everyone heard this, they felt that it made sense and immediately began to move. The current Imperial Guard was like a turtle in a jar. Even Shen Wu Huang was unable to contend against him, not to mention the countless experts of the True Devil Sect and the Martial Imperial Palace. Once the Imperial Guard was captured or killed, it would be an extremely shocking piece of news for all the realms in the heavens. Once the Imperial Guard died, according to everyone's thoughts, the Supreme Sect would definitely go berserk, and all the realms would fall into chaos. Only many people did not know that the Supreme Sect that they had always feared in their hearts had long since become dust, sinking into history. Chapter 773. The Imperial Guard held onto the jade rod tightly, while releasing the limitless profound qi to the back to obstruct Shen Wu Huang, who was chasing after him. He sprinted forward. The direction he was escaping in was naturally the direction of the Demon Mountain. After all, there were still a large number of devil arrays set up by the true devil sect at the Cross-World Gate. Although these devil arrays did not have much of an effect on him, they would still have an effect on him, creating an opportunity for Shen Wu Huang. The strength of the Imperial Guard was not only the limitless profound qi, the strength of his body was also extremely terrifying. Perhaps he could not compare to Shen Wu Huang, but it was not easy to kill him. However, just because he couldn't kill him didn't mean he couldn't subdue him. Great glory sky! An explosive roar resounded through the sky. The giant Shen Wu Huang, who was chasing from behind, leaped up, his body suddenly turning into the size of a normal person, but at this moment, his body released a boundless golden light, illuminating the dark heaven and earth of the true devil realm into a dazzling golden light. The Imperial Guard, who was still running, only saw that the Demon Mountain not far in front of him had disappeared. Immediately after, a large number of huge golden bricks, about 10 meters wide and 5 meters long, descended from the sky and quickly landed in front of him, quickly forming a golden wall, sealing off his path. The Imperial Guard immediately raised his jade rod and struck it. However, the invincible jade rod was unable to shatter the golden brick. The Imperial Guard's expression changed slightly. He immediately turned around and rushed to the right, intending to bypass the golden wall. But as soon as he moved, a large number of huge and terrifying golden bricks rained down from the sky, piling up thick golden walls all around him, trapping him inside a huge wall. Only the top was empty. He looked up, only to see Shen Wu Huang standing at the side of the golden wall, looking at him with disdain. "Kneel, surrender. I won't kill you," he shouted domineeringly. "Your filth and ugliness have exceeded my imagination. With my strength, I'm afraid I won't be able to punish you, but that doesn't mean that you can continue to exist, and that you can continue to tarnish this supposedly pure and holy world. Don't worry, Master will definitely purify you with his own hands, definitely," the Imperial Guard said in a deep voice, his expression serious and pious. "Then I'll purify you first." Shen Wu Huang's explosive temper was stirred up by the Imperial Guard's words. He immediately stepped on empty air and fell into the golden brick wall, his palm striking downwards in an incomparably tyrannical manner. The palm expanded infinitely, almost covering the top of the golden brick wall. The Grand Guard had nowhere to run, he could only fight it head-on. He immediately gathered all of the limitless profound qi in his body, stored it on the jade rod, held the jade rod with both hands, and struck towards the huge palm. Clang! The two of them clashed head-on again, but the result was still the same. The Imperial Guard was still at a disadvantage, and he was blasted to the ground. Shen Wu Huang retracted his palm and punched towards the Imperial Guard's chest. The tyrannical power completely dispersed the limitless profound qi that the Imperial Guard was protecting his body, and the fist solidly smashed onto his flesh and bones. Oh, the Imperial Guard's body curled up and twitched. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Shen Wu Huang seized the opportunity and extended his fist, transforming it into a hand blade, directly cutting towards his neck. With Shen Wu Huang's strength, it was enough to chop off the Imperial Guard's neck. Chirp! At this moment, the sound of something tearing through the air suddenly came out. Shen Wu Huang's face darkened, the hand blade that was striking towards the Imperial Guard directly slashed to the side. Dong! The hand blade seemed to have struck something, releasing a muffled sound. The Imperial Guard took the opportunity to counterattack Shen Wu Huang. Shen Wu Huang had no choice but to immediately retreat and dodge. When he stood still and looked, he realized that there was another person inside the golden brick wall. Su Luluo. "Little girl, it's you?" Shen Wu Huang frowned. However, Su Luluo did not answer Shen Wu Huang. Her eyes were still filled with indifference and calmness, Looking at Shen Wu Huang, it was as if she did not know him at all. Lord Imperial Guard, you should return to Supreme Sect first. I will hold this person back for you. All right. The Imperial Guard nodded without hesitation, then turned around and rushed out of the golden brick wall. You want to leave? What do you think this is? You can come and go as you please? Have you asked this emperor? Shen Wu Huang snorted, with a wave of his hand, his arm extended infinitely, and was about to grab the Imperial Guard in the air. But just then, Su Luluo suddenly activated his profound qi and attacked Shen Wu Huang. She did not care about her life at all, and directly rushed to Shen Wu Huang's palm, and fought with him face to face. Damned girl, are you courting death? Shen Wu Huang was furious, but he still had no choice but to retract a few punches, and only released a fist wind that struck Su Liuluo's body. After a series of intense battles, Su Liuluo's physical strength was slightly depleted, and after being struck by the fist wind, her delicate body trembled a few times in the air, and almost fell, but she managed to stabilize her body. Seeing that, Shen Wu Huang could not help but reveal a look of surprise. He could still see through Su Liuluo's current state, but Su Luluo was actually able to receive his attack. That was not simple. Although Shen Wu Huang had a bad temper, he loved talent very much. Furthermore, the girl in front of him was his granddaughter. In the end, Shen Wu Huang did not kill her. He only retreated a few steps, took out a magic treasure, and threw it at Su Luluo. It was a silver ancient bell. It grew to a height of nearly 20 meters in the air and smashed down. Su Luluo immediately activated the profound qi to block. The ancient bell was heavy and had an enormous amount of brute force. Even if she used all her strength to activate the limitless profound qi, she would not be able to overturn the ancient bell. Wait for me here, Shen Wu Huang said indifferently. He then leaped and rushed out of the golden brick wall, continuing to chase after the Imperial Guard. With Su Liuluo's support, the Imperial Guard quickly escaped to Demon Mountain, and at this moment, there were still a portion of the rogue cultivators lying in ambush, waiting for him to approach. The ground was filled with traps that the rogue cultivators had set up beforehand. When the Imperial Guard approached, the trap was triggered, and a multicolored profound technique shot out, directly engulfing him. Imperial Guard, today is the day you die. Supreme Sect will perish sooner or later. A few resentful voices sounded out, and the figures of rogue cultivators rushed out from the darkness, all of them slashing towards the Imperial Guard that was engulfed by the profound technique. After escaping from Shen Wu Huang's tiger claws, he met a pack of wolves. The Imperial Guard was naturally unlucky, but, since Shen Wu Huang was able to restrain his limitless profound qi, it did not mean that these people could do the same. The Imperial Guard snorted and waved the jade rod in his hand. The jade rod released a terrifying gust of wind that blew in all directions. The violent winds were all limitless profound qi. They were like big mouths, completely devouring the profound strength that was released from the surrounding trap arrays. The surrounding rogue cultivators were shocked. They immediately raised their weapons and attacked. However, the Imperial Guard's figure flashed and suddenly appeared behind them. He raised his jade rod and struck one of them on the head. With a muffled sound, the body of the person who was struck by the jade rod turned into dust and died. His soul overflowed. The Imperial Guard turned the jade rod again, and the rod released a lustrous light, absorbing the dead rogue cultivator's soul into the rod. The light released by the rod became even more intense. In the blink of an eye, a first-stage Spirit Emperor existence was instantly killed by the Imperial Guard. When the rest of the rogue cultivators saw this, they were not only shocked, they were so shocked that their bones went numb. The power of the Imperial Guard was indeed not a rumor. Dirty creatures! It's not convenient for me to fight with you for a long time today. Sooner or later, all of you will receive the punishment you deserve, the Imperial Guard said in a low voice. He did not waste too much time with these people, and immediately rushed towards the bridge at the top of Demon Mountain, rushing towards the Supreme Realm. Currently, Shen Wu Huang was still chasing after him relentlessly. Once he was entangled by Shen Wu Huang, he would not be able to leave. Relying on the limitless profound qi, the Imperial Guard easily rushed into Demon Mountain. After stepping onto the teleportation bridge, his entire body turned into a ray of light and disappeared. When the halo of light dissipated, he opened his eyes again. The surrounding scenery was no longer the dark and cold scene of the true Devil Realm, but a vast universe. The location of the Imperial Guard was on a small meteorite that was 10,000 miles away from the gate of the Supreme Realm. This stone was not big, about the size of a city. Back then, the people of the True Devil sect had planned to build a bridge here, and after the war with the Supreme sect, they had sent a strong force to take a detour from the back and launch a surprise attack, disrupting the people of the Supreme sect, and achieving the goal of winning by surprise. However, because of the betrayal of the Three-Bone Dragon, the True Devil sect's method was declared a failure before it could even be implemented. Not only did it fail, the people of the Supreme sect even used this back door to counterattack the True Devil sect. It was a pity that the affairs of the world were hard to predict. The battle that was originally in his grasp was ruined by the Martial Imperial Palace. With the army of the True Devil sect and the people of the Martial Imperial Palace, not many of the Supreme sect people who accompanied the Imperial Guard to the True Devil sect would return. However, the Imperial Guard did not feel any heartache. Since the Martial Imperial Palace had already made their move, then it meant that the Supreme sect would have an excuse to make a move against the Martial Imperial Palace in the future. After getting rid of the True Devil sect, the next one would be the Martial Imperial Palace. The Imperial Guard thought coldly as he activated his full speed and rushed towards the gate of the Supreme Realm. As he approached the gate, the Imperial Guard couldn't help but slow down. He raised his eyes and stared at the incomparably huge door that seemed to have been forged by an immortal god. A trace of astonishment finally appeared on his face. The door opened slightly. It was pitch black inside without any light leaking out. Outside the door, there was not a single person, there was not a single member of the Supreme sect. Something happened? The Imperial Guard was shocked and immediately rushed through the door. However, as soon as he entered, he felt as if he had fallen into a pitch-black abyss without any light. The Imperial Guard's face was filled with shock. His eyes were wide open. He looked left and right, but could not see any scenes from the past. Not only people, even things had changed. Even the glittering golden past had turned into a dark and cold present. The Supreme Realm. It no longer existed. Crash. At this moment, the sound of something tearing through the air rang out. The Imperial Guard hurriedly looked towards the source of the sound, only to see a pair of blood-red eyes suddenly appearing in the darkness, coldly staring at him. Chapter 774. When Shen Wu Huang rushed to Demon Mountain, the rogue cultivators were still there. They were all sitting cross-legged on the ground, meditating. Seeing the Supreme Expert coming over, they immediately stood up and bowed. "Where's the Supreme Guard?" Shen Wu Huang said. Everyone's faces turned ugly. "Has the Imperial Guard been caught yet? Haha, with so many experts, he should be unable to escape even if he had wings, right? Where is he? Where is he? Hurry up and bring it out for me to see. This brat was very arrogant at the beginning. Let me tell you, I really hate him so much that my teeth itch. Let me slap him twice. Vent your anger, hee. Behind him, Octagon Aniseed also followed over and shouted excitedly. His impatient voice eased the awkward atmosphere a little. Shen Wu Huang looked at Octagon Aniseed and said in a lukewarm tone, "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you, Lord Octagon Aniseed. The Imperial Guard has escaped." "What? Escaped?" Octagon Aniseed's smile froze. He looked around, but did not see any trace of Octagon Aniseed. He was stunned. Why did he escape? We have so many people. How can we let a stray dog escape? We don't have enough manpower. The Holy Maiden has stopped me. With just these people, they are unable to contend against the limitless profound Qi, so naturally the Imperial Guard has escaped. Shen Wu Huang snorted. Octagon Aniseed was stunned. He was dumbfounded. Then, he sat down on the ground and beat his chest as he wailed, "How can we let him escape? Oh my God, the heavens are blind. My true devil sect has sacrificed so many disciples, and fought a bloody battle with the Supreme Sect for months, but in the end we got nothing. I have let down the disciples who died, I have let them down." Octagon Aniseed wailed and sobbed. His voice was earth-shattering. In fact, these people were not stupid. Octagon Aniseed was clearly putting on an act, because he did not use much strength to chase after the Imperial Guard. If he did not put on an act, these fellows would have pushed the blame of the Imperial Guard's escape onto him. However, how could this vice-sect master, ghost spirit, suffer such a loss? Shen Wu Huang's face turned ugly. He stared at the rogue cultivators and Octagon Aniseed, unable to say a word for a long time. Since things have come to this, there is no point in saying all this. Lord Martial Emperor, we are incompetent and allowed the Imperial Guard to escape. This time, it is all our fault. I, Li Zhongfeng, guarantee that the next time I fight with the Supreme Sect, I will personally behead the Imperial Guard. To avenge this humiliation, a rogue cultivator said with a sincere expression. No need. However, Shen Wu Huang said mercilessly, all of you are too weak, you are not a match for the limitless profound Qi, it is more important to protect your lives. Eight-toothed Sect Master, this matter was caused by your true devil sect, you should quickly send people to destroy the Demon Mountains crossing bridge, otherwise in a few days, the Supreme Sect will definitely make a comeback. This old man still has matters to attend to, so I will not stay for long. With that, without waiting for a reply, he leaped into the sky and fled into the distance. Shen Wu Huang's arrogant and overbearing attitude made many people unhappy, but he was strong, so even if everyone was unhappy, they did not dare show it on their faces. Who is it? An obvious trembling voice rang out in this pitch-black world. The person who spoke clearly used a lot of strength. However, when he spoke, he realized that his voice wasn't loud. I remember you. Are you called the Supreme Guard? The man with the blood-red eyes spoke. His voice was hoarse and ear-piercing, drilling into his eardrums and brain, giving him a sense of dizziness. Hearing this voice, the usually calm Imperial Guard could not help but reveal a strong sense of fear. You? Who exactly are you? How do you know me? What the hell happened here? Is this not the Supreme Sect? A series of questions came out of his mouth. It wasn't that the Imperial Guard was afraid of this strange person, but that the Supreme Realm no longer existed. Everything here had given him too much confusion. What people feared the most was ignorance. Previously, when he was in the true Devil Realm, he should have cast a spell to draw out the limitless profound Qi that was deposited in his body and eliminate it. However, just as he was about to activate the spell, his mental state and strength suddenly became chaotic. This was a phenomenon that would only occur when Master was attacked, so he told Su Luluo that something might have happened in the Supreme Sect. The Supreme Sect was the belief of the Imperial Guard, and the sect leader was even more so his master. Regardless of whether it was his master or the Supreme Sect, the Imperial Guard had absolute confidence in them. It was impossible for the Supreme Sect to be destroyed, it was impossible for Master to be defeated. The Supreme Divine Tao would always be the highest point in the world, and would always be an incomparable Divine Tao. The Imperial Guard repeated these words over and over again in his heart, hoping to use this to strengthen the faith in his heart. The Supreme Sect was destroyed by me. At this time, a voice suddenly came from the side. It was unknown if it was intentional or not. This sentence was like a knife that was filled with poison, ruthlessly stabbing into his heart. No. The Imperial Guard shook his head. Is this an illusion array you set up? Don't try to confuse me. Filthy person, you need to be purified. However, the voice in the darkness was silent. After a long time, there was no sound. The Imperial Guard stared in the direction of the voice. He stared at the blood-red eyes in the darkness. His entire body tensed up. It was too quiet. It was so quiet that he could almost hear his own heartbeat. At this moment, he really hoped that the other party could use a reasonable excuse to tell him that the Supreme Sect had indeed been destroyed by him. In this way, he could be sure that this person was making up a story to deceive him. However, he did not continue. The more he refused to speak, the more flustered the Imperial Guard became. Creak. In the darkness, there was the dull sound of a sharp sword being unsheathed. You should go, he said. Ah! In an instant, the Imperial Guard collapsed. These 4 words were like a hammer, shattering the last bit of faith in his heart. He was not afraid of death. Ever since he joined the Supreme Divine Tao, he had never been afraid of powerful enemies, never been afraid of death. It could be said that he had nothing to fear in this world, because he had faith in his heart. He firmly believed that once he stepped onto the Supreme Divine Tao, he would be able to live forever, purify his soul, and obtain everything in the world. But now, Su Yun's words had made him completely crazy. What did the destruction of the Supreme Sect mean? The Supreme Divine Tao was not the highest divine way, and the limitless profound Qi was not the invincible profound Qi in the world. Everything was a scam, everything was fake. What he had persisted in was not what he had thought at all. All along, the path he had walked had been wrong. This kind of collapse of faith was 1,000,000 times more painful than killing him. Liar! You're lying. It's impossible for my Supreme Sect to be destroyed by a filthy thing like you, the Supreme Divine Way. It's impossible for it to disappear just like that. You're using an illusion to deceive me, you're definitely using an illusion to deceive me. The Imperial Guard's voice trembled as he shouted hysterically. His face was deathly pale, and his eyes were filled with fear. His entire body was on the verge of collapse, and his state of mind had long since become a complete mess. However, the person in the darkness had already lost his patience. He did not explain. However, the more he did not explain, the more it meant that his words were true. He slowly approached with the pitch-black death sword in his hand. The devil Qi on the death sword actually turned into the shape of a dragon, circling around the sword's body, releasing a vicious aura that soared to the sky. The insane Imperial Guard suddenly woke up. When he saw the person in front of him clearly, he was stunned and suddenly thought of something. You're from the real Devil Sect? He cried out involuntarily. He realized that he had seen Su Yun before. He had met this person once when he was attacking the Primal Chaos Realm. Back then, he had even sent 2 squads to capture Su Yun, but there was no news of him. I am the Demon Lord of the true Devil Sect. Su Yun raised his sword and slowly placed it on his neck. Haven't you always been pursuing the Supreme Divine Tao? A hoarse voice sounded. The Imperial Guard raised his head and looked at the person in front of him in a daze. Then are you willing to go with them? You! What do you mean? The Imperial Guard muttered. The people of the Supreme Realm are all dead. In the future, no one will chase after that illusory Tao, and to chase after this Tao, only the underworld can do so. So, are you willing to die? If you want to continue chasing after that so-called Tao, I will send you on your way. If you don't want to, I'll let you go, he said softly. What? The Imperial Guard's eyes widened. If you are willing to give up your Supreme Divine Tao, I can promise you that I won't kill you. Su Yun repeated himself, even though his blood-red eyes seemed especially cold. The Imperial Guard was stunned, and dumbfounded. After a long time, he finally regained his senses. At this moment, there was no longer any pain or fear on his face. All that was left was hesitation and confusion. He could not tell if what Su Yun said was true or false, but this place was indeed the Supreme Sect. It could not be wrong, but would the Supreme Sect really be destroyed? He took a few steps back, his body already without much strength. Su Yun looked at him quietly. He did not move, even the sword chi on the death sword had dissipated a bit. He seemed to have seen something, and the killing intent on his body slowly receded like a receding tide. "Do you have faith?" The Imperial Guard calmed down, raised his head, and looked at Su Yun as he muttered, "Yes." "What path do you pursue?" he hurriedly asked. "A path that belongs only to me," Su Yun replied seriously. Hearing that, he was stunned for a moment, then revealed a bitter smile. "That's it? Everyone has different beliefs. You can't say that I don't have faith just because my faith is different from yours. The key lies in the person." "Is that so? Then tell me. My faith. Is it wrong?" The Imperial Guard said these words with great difficulty. When the words left his mouth, he unexpectedly took a deep breath. "If you think it's right, then it's right. If you think it's wrong, then it's wrong. Don't ask for the opinions of others, because sometimes, what you think is right is wrong in the eyes of others. It's hard to define right and wrong. What you have to do is persevere in your own belief." "Then, are you saying that I'm not wrong to adhere to the Supreme Divine Tao?" "No, in my opinion, you are wrong. However, if you think you are right, that is enough. Why care about others?" Hearing that, the Imperial Guard looked at Su Yun in a daze. After a long while, he let out a deep breath. The two of them were silent. Su Yun slightly closed his eyes. In fact, if the people of Supreme Sect were to truly fight for their own beliefs, it would not be a wrong thing to do. However, to be bewitched to pursue the so-called beliefs was a huge mistake. Su Yun felt that this Imperial Guard did not seem to be bewitched. "Demon Lord." At this moment the Imperial Guard spoke. Su Yun opened his eyes, only to see him handing over the jade-colored rod in his hand. "Take it," he said softly. Su Yun looked at him in surprise. "I'm leaving." The Imperial Guard revealed a gratified smile, and said softly, "Although I do not understand the true Supreme Divine Tao, but I believe in Master. I believe that he is right. Without Master there would be no me, since they have already gone to another world to pursue the Supreme Divine Tao, then, how can I continue to stay here? Take it." Hearing that, Su Yun was silent for a moment, then nodded and received the jade rod. The moment the jade rod left the Imperial Guard's hands, his entire body seemed to have been reborn. Circles of light blossomed around his body, and then dimmed down. His skin began to crack. His pupils began to dilate. His life force dissipated like a rapidly withering tree. However, his mouth revealed the most natural smile. "I will see a truly holy world," he said with a smile. Chapter 775. The Imperial Guard's body turned into sand and drifted into the pitch-black space-time. Even his soul was annihilated. Su Yun looked on quietly. His state of mind was unexpectedly calm. He raised the jade rod in his hand, only to discover that the rod had already become dull and had turned into the most ordinary rod. This was also a divine object that had developed intelligence a long time ago. However, after its master left, it didn't want to exist on its own, so it released the power within itself. However, it didn't matter whether it was practical or not. It could only be used as a souvenir. "You've killed so many people, so you should be filled with evil energy. Why didn't you immediately kill this Imperial Guard?" Just then, Ling Qingyu's questioning voice came out from the sword sheath. She had been silently observing Su Yun from within the sword sheath. Ever since the appearance of the ominous sword, Su Yun's state of mind was affected by the ominous sword's evil qi. He didn't consider how many people would die with this strike of his, nor did he consider how serious the consequences would be. Ling Qingyu had even thought that Su Yun would lose his mind and himself under the sword. After all, it was tens of millions of lives. However, after devouring the 3 souls and 7 souls of the Supreme Sect Lord, Su Yun's agitated state of mind had strangely calmed down. Perhaps the powerful soul of the Supreme Sect Lord had temporarily suppressed a portion of his evil aura. Just now, I really wanted to kill the Imperial Guard. Su Yun's hoarse voice came out, but I can't kill any more. The blood-red tide in his eyes had yet to recede, making him look extremely frightening. His aura was very unstable, like the lid of a boiling kettle, fluctuating up and down. In the blink of an eye, millions of people had died in front of him, and they had even died at his hands. The impact of this situation on his soul was simply unimaginable. Su Yun was not a god, even if he had become the demon lord of the true devil sect, even if he had cultivated bitterly in the quiet world for decades, he would still not be able to escape. Ling Qingyu quietly looked at Su Yun's face through the sword sheath, and realized that his face was extremely taut. Although he did not look like he was in pain, she could tell that he was suffering from the pressure. You must think of a way to dispel this evil energy. Otherwise, if it continues, your situation will be very bad. I know. Su Yun took a few deep breaths. His mind was in a mess. He needed to meditate and recuperate, but where was the best place to meditate? He did not know. Furthermore, dispelling this evil aura was not something that could be achieved by oneself. It required the help of others. True devil sect expert? This was obviously not possible. Although the devil cultivator's evil energy could not be compared to his own enormous amount of evil energy, it could not help him either. Suddenly, Su Yun thought of someone. He immediately activated his qi and rushed out of Supreme Sect. Su Yun, where are you going? Ling Qingyu asked with worry. Ultimate martial sacred plane. Su Yun called out. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu did not understand. However, Su Yun did not explain further, and urged his qi to rush forward with all his might. However, just as he left the Supreme Realm, the evil aura in his body started to become restless. The suppression of the human power was already too much to handle, and the tightness on Su Yun's face became more and more obvious. By the time he entered the ultimate martial sacred plane, the skin on Su Yun's entire body had already become extremely red, blood vessels were exposed, veins were protruding, and his eyes were so red that they could not be seen clearly. His body swayed and his flying speed was very slow. The dense killing intent and ruthless aura made the spirit cultivator on the road not dare to approach him. I need to devour the soul of the spirit cultivator in order to suppress it. I need the soul. Su Yun muttered hoarsely. No. Su Yun, the more you devour, the more you will lose, you must persevere. Ling Qingyu flew out from the sword sheath and supported Su Yun as she shouted. But just then, Su Yun suddenly turned and grabbed Ling Qingyu's arm, his blood-red eyes staring at her with a fierce glint. Ling Qingyu was startled and suddenly thought of something. Could it be that Su Yun's heart had been corroded by the evil aura, and now he wants to devour me? Ling Qingyu's face turned white. She immediately wanted to push Su Yun away, but before she could do anything, Su Yun had already pushed her away. Qingyu, quickly go back to the sword sheath. Su Yun held onto his head, his body trembling as he spoke. Ling Qingyu looked at him in a daze, and immediately understood that the action just now was made by Su Yun's remaining will, and he was trying his best to suppress the evil aura on his body. However, Ling Qingyu did not immediately go back. She stood in place, hesitating. Abandon Su Yun and leave? But if he did not give up, what could he do? Clang. Finally, Su Yun could not hold it in anymore. His hand grabbed onto the death sword on his back, and with a push, the sword left the sword sheath. Su Yun, calm down. Ling Qingyu clenched his fists tightly and shouted. But these words were useless against Su Yun. He raised his head and stared at Ling Qingyu, his trembling body slowly moving towards her. It was already difficult to suppress. He was almost at his limit. He felt that if he didn't do anything, he would explode. Whoosh! Just then, a cool breeze suddenly floated over from afar, gently hitting Su Yun's face, followed by a few emerald green leaves, an intoxicating fragrance of flowers, accompanied by the cool breeze. The wind came at the right time, like a pair of ice-cold hands. It calmed Su Yun's hot heart down a little. His body stopped trembling. Even though his breathing was still rapid, the blood-red tide in his eyes had yet to fade. It was much better than before. Someone cast a spell? Ling Qingyu felt the change. A thought immediately flashed past her mind. She turned to look, only to see a group of spirit cultivator flying over quickly, and the leader was an old man. It was the Master Sub-Hoodie. Master! Su Yun looked at the Master Sub-Hoodie, and called out weakly. Don't talk too much, hurry up and adjust your breathing. Master Sub-Hoodie shouted from afar. But before Su Yun could say anything, he lost all his strength, stepped on empty air, and fell to the ground. Master Sub-Hoodie approached in a flash, raised both of his palms, and struck Su Yun's back, imbuing him with an unending stream of spirit life qi. This qi was like a cool spring water that poured into his body. The evil qi that was wreaking havoc in Su Yun's body was slightly suppressed. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes, looked at the Master Sub-Hoodie behind him, and laughed bitterly. I'm sorry, Master, your disciple always causes trouble for you. Don't say any more, quickly sit down cross-legged and meditate. Focus and calm your heart, don't think about anything else. Do you understand? Empty your mind. Master Sub-Hoodie said in a low voice. The moment you entered the ultimate martial sacred plane, I felt this terrifying evil qi. I have never seen such a dense evil qi before. You should have a divine object protecting you, right? If not for this divine object, I'm afraid that your soul would have long been devoured by this evil qi, and you would have turned into a walking corpse. Master Sub-Hoodie's expression had never been so serious before. Su Yun understood what Master Sub-Hoodie meant, and knew that he was probably talking about the Imperial battle robes. Immediately, he emptied his mind and sat down cross-legged to meditate. He tried his best to force himself not to think about the matters of the Supreme Sect. However, when he closed his eyes, terrifying scenes would always flash through his mind. Hundreds and thousands of people had turned into sand in front of his eyes. Innumerable souls wailed in the dark sky before slowly disappearing. The peerless expert stared at him with a vicious gaze. All of this was like a nightmare, constantly gnawing at his thoughts. Su Yun's body trembled slightly. It was not the trembling of fear, but the trembling of anger and frustration. These thoughts were on the verge of collapsing his spirit. Seeing that, the Master Sub-Hoodie shouted anxiously, "Recite after me. The wind wants to brush the willow leaves move slightly, the heavenly Tao is boundless, the laws of nature, the laws of the heavenly Tao, let nature take its course, the circle is full." After a few chants came out, Su Yun anxiously used his own willpower to open his mouth and recite. The wind wants to brush the willow leaves move slightly, the heavenly Tao is boundless, the laws of nature, the laws of the heavenly Tao, let nature take its course, the circle is full. As the chant was recited, Su Yun unexpectedly realized that the evil qi in his body that was constantly increasing had stopped. His state of mind had also stabilized, and there were no longer any violent and distracting thoughts. He was strangely calm, and this feeling that he had not felt for a long time made Su Yun extremely infatuated. Just like that, Master Sub-Hoodie and Su Yun sat cross-legged on the ground, muttering to themselves, while the disciples who followed the previous master surrounded Su Yun, looking at him strangely. At this time, even more men were looking to the side, quietly staring at Ling Qingyu. As time passed, Su Yun's blood-red skin started to regain its original color, the veins and blood vessels that were bursting out also slowly subsided, the evil qi gradually subsided, and he also recovered. 6 hours later, the two of them stopped chanting at almost the same time, and then slowly opened their eyes. "How do you feel?" "Much better." Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately stood up and bowed to the Master Subhoodie. "Thank you for saving me, Master." "Don't be polite." The Master Subhoodie nodded his head lightly, then looked at Su Yun from head to toe, his expression still somewhat solemn. "However, Su Yun, although your current situation has stabilized, it is only a temporary solution, and has not achieved the effect of a permanent solution. The evil qi in your body will still erupt at any time, affecting your mind, and even injuring your soul. Therefore, you must think of a way to get rid of these evil qi, or else you will die at any time." "Master is right." Su Yun calmed his heart and said, "I also understand the power of these evil qi, it's just that, the amount of evil qi in my body is extremely huge. If it's water, those immortal gods would definitely not be afraid, but with my strength, it's impossible for me to contend against this evil qi, and I'm afraid it won't be easy to get rid of it." Su Yun shook his head. Every time those people died, a trace of evil qi would accumulate in Su Yun's body. Currently, the evil qi in Su Yun's body was so dense that even he himself was not clear about it. Nothing in this world is difficult for those who are willing. Ultimate Martial Sacred Plane is a good place to heal and recuperate. Su Yun, during this period of time, you can dissolve the evil qi in Ultimate Martial Sacred Plane. Do not go anywhere else for the time being, and try not to come into contact with outsiders as much as possible, and do not cause any conflict. That's good, disciple will follow Master's words, but before that, disciple still hopes to make a trip to Beiyang. Su Yun said seriously. "Sure, in order to prevent any accidents, I'll go with you." The Master Subhoodie laughed. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately stood up, and once again bowed respectfully to his master. Chapter 776. Inside the golden brick wall, Su Luluo, who was suppressed by the big bell, was still struggling to hold on. Her jade arm that was raised high up in the air trembled slightly, the qi in her palm was restless, the big bell seemed to weigh hundreds of millions of kilograms, it kept on sinking, unable to open, the pressure of Mount Tai could not be compared to it. However, after an unknown period of time, with a wung sound, the ancient bell suddenly disappeared. Su Luluo loosened his arms and looked over, only to see a group of people flying towards the inside of the golden brick wall. At the same time, the wall also gradually disappeared, and everything returned to normal. But Su Luluo still did not have any change. She looked at the approaching people indifferently, even though there were her mother, her grandfather, and her aunt among them, she was still unable to have any change in her emotions. Seeing these people, it was as if she was looking at a stranger. "Luluo! Luluo! Daughter! My daughter!" The excited Shinshueshia saw Su Luluo from afar, and could not help but rush over while trembling. Her eyes were red, the tears had not dried yet, her face was anxious, her face was filled with joy. Seeing Su Luluo standing in front of her, she was so happy that she could not find the north, but her tears were like a dam that had burst, once again gushing out from her eyes. However, just as Shinshueshua was about to approach Su Luluo, a shout suddenly came out. "Don't even think about coming over." Shinshueshua's entire body froze. She looked at Su Luluo in a daze. Su Luluo formed a palm with one hand and pressed it on his chest. He looked at everyone indifferently. "I know what kind of intentions you all have, but there is one thing I must tell everyone in advance. As the holy maiden of the Supreme Sect, now that I have been captured, I am already prepared to be martyred at any time. You filthy people, do not even think of using me to deal with the Holy Gate. Retreat." "Bastard! What are you talking about?" Shen Wu Huang was furious, the tyrannical aura around his body immediately released. However, Su Luluo was not afraid at all. He turned his head and looked at him. Seeing that Shen Wu Huang was furious, he was about to take action, but just as he moved, he was stopped by Shen Shueshue. Father, no! You're still protecting her? Father, please calm your anger. Luluo was only bewitched by the Supreme Sect, that's why he did not recognize his own family. She's not a bad person. Shen Shueshue anxiously flew over and said in a low voice. Right now, her emotions are so extreme, if we act recklessly, I'm afraid she will destroy her own soul and die, so father, please don't force Luluo. Her expression was incomparably sad, and she was almost in tears. Then what do you plan to do? Shen Wu Huang waved his hand snappily. Shen Shueshue stopped crying, thought for a moment and said bitterly, let's follow the method Master said and erase her memory. Once she loses her memory, she will lose her faith. In this way we can instill new memories into her, and everything will be done. Luluo is also back. Hearing that, Shen Wu Huang nodded his head. That makes sense. Since that's the case, then all right, I will scatter her memories. With that, he leaped and rushed towards Su Luluo. However, Su Luluo did not plan to surrender, even though he was already at the end of his rope. He still used it to attack Shen Wu Huang. The young lady at the side flew over and watched the battle between Shen Wu Huang and Su Luluo seriously. Even though Su Luluo was injured, he was still an expert. As the holy maiden of the Supreme Sect, how dense was the limitless profound Qi in his body. If he wanted to control her, he could only rely on a powerful saint emperor like Shen Wu Huang, who stood between heaven and earth. No one else was suitable, because Su Luluo had no other way out. If he did not handle it well and forced her into a dead end, she would definitely commit suicide. The people of the martial imperial palace formed a circle and stared at the battle in the center. Everyone's face was filled with excitement. Those who stepped into the martial imperial palace were almost all martial fanatic. Crash. Just as the people of the martial imperial palace were nervously subduing Su Luluo, a large number of black figures flew over from afar. Everyone looked over. It was the devil cultivator from the true devil sect. The one in the lead was Octagon Aniseed, followed closely by the round demon, the two demons, the heart demon and the other higher-ups of the devil cultivator. All of them had serious expressions on their faces as they flew over. Seeing Shen Wu Huang and Su Luluo fighting, Octagon Aniseed did not reveal any expression of surprise. Instead, when he landed on the ground, he did not even greet them, and immediately called out, Lord Martial Emperor, have you seen my Devil Sex Demon Lord return? Devil Sex Demon Lord? Shen Shueshue was startled for a moment, then suddenly thought of something and asked, Your esteemed Sex Demon Lord is Su Yun? That's right. Octagon Aniseed nodded his head. His face was gloomy and ugly. Even though he had defeated the people from the Supreme Sect, he did not reveal the slightest bit of happiness. What does your Devil Sex Demon Lord have to do with me? Shen Wu Huang punched Su Luluo away and snorted. My Devil Sex Demon Lord has nothing to do with you? When Octagon Aniseed and the others heard this, they were unexpectedly infuriated. He changed his usual hip-hop appearance and stared at the people present with his bloody eyes. Finally, his gaze landed on the young lady and said coldly, This person is the holy maiden of the Supreme Sect. You are Shen Wu Huang's granddaughter, right? Humph, I never thought that your Shen Wu Huang's granddaughter would actually escape into the Supreme Sect. However, what you didn't expect was that in order to save his sister, in order to prevent his parents from risking their lives, there was a person who escaped into my devil sect and attempted to use the power of my devil sect to save his sister from the Supreme Sect. Shen Shueshue's face turned pale white. He anxiously rushed forward, grabbed onto Octagon Aniseed's arm, and asked, Master, you are talking about, but Su Yun? Where is he now? Where is he? Please tell me, can you tell me? Are you the Demon Lord's mother? Octagon Aniseed flung his arm away and said coldly, I don't know where the Demon Lord is, I just don't understand, the Demon Lord has done so much for you, why are you all so indifferent? Shun Shueshua's face revealed a complicated expression. He opened his mouth, but in the end, he bit his lips and said bitterly, I don't know what to do, my strength is meager. Saving Luluo is already a fantasy, but I don't know why Yunar would do this for Luluo. She never thought that all of this would turn out like this, nor did she think that Su Yun would escape into the Devil Sect and fight against the Supreme Sect for Su Liulua's sake. She was well aware of the strength of the Supreme Sect. In the past few years, she and Su Shintian had fought with the Supreme Sect a few times under the leadership of Wu Zizai, but to no avail. The people of the Supreme Sect did not place them in their eyes at all, and she knew that the terror of the Supreme Sect was not something she could contend against. She had long warned Su Yun not to ask too many questions, and even more so not to provoke the Supreme Sect, because in her opinion, Su Yun did not have the obligation to save Su Luluo. However, she realized that she was wrong. How could the brother that Su Yun thought of himself as sit back and watch his own sister fall into a sea of fire? On the other hand, Shen Wu Huang did not respond too much, he only snorted and said indifferently, Vice Sect Leader Chi Chi, your words seem to be a little too much, right? I only know that my daughter gave birth to a daughter, but I have never heard of her and Su Shen giving birth to a son. A person called Su Yun appeared out of nowhere. How could he be my grandson? Why should I be responsible for it? These words surprised Octagon Aniseed. He turned his head to look at Shin Shueshua and frowned. Shin Shueshua, what exactly is going on? This is a long story. Shin Shueshua shook his head, unwilling to explain. Octagon Aniseed was annoyed. Is Su Yun your son? Of course he is. Let me tell you, for Su Liulua's sake, it is extremely likely that Su Yun has already fallen deep into the Supreme Sect. Octagon Aniseed pointed at Su Luluo and said, Before the battle started, we were ambushed and retreated with injuries. He single-handedly brought up the rear for us and covered our retreat, and then we lost contact with him. I am unable to contact him, and someone found his lost Demon Lord badge near Demon Mountain. I do not know if he is alive or dead, but if he is dead, there should be a corpse, but there is no corpse. Therefore, I think that he must have been captured by the Supreme Sect. As my Devil Sect's Demon Lord, nothing must happen to Su Yun, so I suggest that we capture this woman and use her to exchange for Su Yun. Hearing that, Shen Shueshua was so scared that he shouted out on the spot, No! What do you mean? Octagon Aniseed was angry. Isn't Su Yun your son? But the back of my hand is full of flesh, How should I choose? Shen Shueshua was in extreme pain. He sat on the ground and sobbed. Isn't that easy to choose? Octagon Aniseed said coldly. As the Demon Lord, Su Yun already has a demonic nature in his body, adding his personality. He will definitely not be assimilated by the people of the Supreme Sect, maybe not only him, even I am the same, and facing people who cannot be absorbed into the Supreme Sect, the Supreme Sect will usually execute them without mercy, but this holy maiden is different. She is originally a member of the Supreme Sect, and is also a noble holy maiden. If she were to use her to exchange for Su Yun, she would definitely succeed, and if she were to return to the Supreme Sect, her life would not be in any danger. But if she did not return to the Supreme Sect, Su Yun, who was trapped in the Supreme Sect, would definitely die. In this way, you will kill your son for your daughter, do you understand? Octagon Aniseed's words were like knives, scraping Shin Shueshua's heart, causing her already weak heart to be completely mutilated. Shin Shueshua sat on the ground in a daze, tears flowing down his face, but he did not know how to reply to Octagon Aniseed's words. Then what do you mean? Shin Wu Huang walked over and coldly snorted. Do you want to use her to exchange for your true Devil Sect's Demon Lord? Even if you don't admit that he is your grandson, he is your daughter's son. There's nothing wrong with that. Furthermore, selfless demon lord, how can this battle be so easy? Octagon Aniseed said coldly. Facing the extremely tyrannical Shen Wu Huang, he did not reveal the slightest bit of fear. Shen Wu Huang frowned. In the end, he turned his gaze, looked at his daughter who had lost her soul, and said, Shwe Shwe, since it's your son and daughter, then you can choose for yourself. Shen Shue Shue sat on the ground and cried alone for a long time. Finally, she muttered to Su Luluo, who was in the distance, Daughter, in order to save you, your brother fell into the hands of a thief. If I ignore your brother and cause him to die, I'm afraid I won't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. So, your daughter, I hope you can understand your mother's difficulties. Wu. As he spoke, Shen Shueshue's body started to tremble, and choked with sobs. Hearing that, Octagon Aniseed finally understood Shen Shueshue's decision. Shue Shue, where's Luluo? Did Luluo find it? At this moment, anxious cries came from afar. Chapter 777. Hearing that voice, Shen Shueshue seemed to have found something to rely on. He suddenly stood up and looked around. When she saw Su Shintian flying over from afar and landing in front of her, she immediately threw herself into Su Shintian's embrace and started sobbing. Seeing his wife so heartbroken, Su Shintian felt extremely helpless, and quickly comforted her. However, when he saw that his daughter was not far away and was surrounded by the people of the martial imperial palace, Su Shintian's face immediately revealed waves of joy and excitement. Luluo, Su Shintian muttered, a look of relief in his eyes. It had been so many years. His daughter was finally standing in front of him. The heavens have opened their eyes. I, Su, have finally seen my daughter again. Su Shintian muttered in his heart. This man was different from the other spirit cultivators. If not, he would not have fallen in love with Shen Wu Huang's daughter. However, Shen Shueshue's following words caused his expression to freeze. In order to save Luluo, Yun'er has already fallen deep into the Supreme Sect. His life and death are unknown. Shen Shueshue sobbed. What? Su Shintian's eyes immediately widened, as though he had been struck by lightning. They are all your children. If you return one to the Supreme Sect, you can live. If you don't, you will die. How do you choose? Octagon Aniseed walked over and said to Su Shintian in a serious tone. Su Shintian was still a little confused, and only when Shen Shueshue explained to him while crying, did he understand the whole story. Hearing Shen Shueshue's words, Su Shintian also fell into a dilemma. He looked at Su Luluo, then looked at Chi Chi. His fists were clenched tightly, but he was unable to say anything for a long time. Su Shintian, what are you hesitating for? This was a family matter. What did it have to do with his true devil sect? Even if we want to save that brat Su Yun, we should make the decision ourselves. Don't be affected by others. Seeing Su Shintian's slightly pained look, Shen Wu Huang snorted and spoke solemnly. Is Lord Martial Emperor not planning to use Su Luluo to exchange for Su Yun's safety? Octagon Aniseed turned his head and looked coldly at Shen Wu Huang. It is up to us to decide whether to exchange or not. Your true devil sect does not have the qualifications to interfere in the matters of our martial imperial palace. Shen Wu Huang did not give him any face. Although he had always hated Su Shintian and did not really like Su Luluo at this moment, he treated these people as his own family. However, with his arrogant personality, he could not tolerate Octagon Aniseed pointing fingers at him. If this were to spread out, wouldn't others think that the martial imperial palace was afraid of the true devil sect? You're wrong, Martial Emperor. This isn't just a matter of your family, it's a matter of our sect as well. Su Yun is the demon lord of my true devil sect. His status is extremely high. My true devil sect has not produced a single demon lord in 1,000 years. it can be seen how important he is. Furthermore, if not for the demon lord attacking with all his might, we would have been killed by the Imperial Guards long ago, and would have been destroyed by the Supreme Sect a long time ago. So, no matter what, we will save Lord Demon Lord. We will not care about your decision, if you are not willing to hand Su Luluo over to the Supreme Sect in exchange for the safety of the Demon Lord, then, my true Devil Sect can only fight with all our might and forcefully take Su Luluo away. How dare you? Shen Wu Huang was enraged. The surrounding people of the martial Imperial Palace all took out their weapons at the same time, and faced the people of the true Devil Sect. Their killing intent and tyrannical aura instantly overflowed. Is your true Devil Sect threatening this emperor? Shen Wu Huang walked over, his round eyes releasing a golden light. His battle intent erupted. His aura was extremely terrifying. If it was in the past, with Shen Wu Huang being so angry, there would not be many spirit cultivator who would not be intimidated and fearful. However, these people from the true Devil Sect did not know what fear was. The moment the people from the martial Imperial Palace moved, they also moved. The Devil Chi wreaked havoc in all directions. All the great clan elders activated their profound technique, staring straight at Shen Wu Huang. The two sides instantly entered a state of confrontation. Octagon Aniseed did not retreat at all. He looked straight at Shen Wu Huang. His eyes were red and black, and his voice was especially hoarse. If you really want to say that this is a threat, then that's good. His words could be said to be a complete declaration of war against the martial Imperial Palace. The true Devil Sect had just fought with the Supreme Sect. Their vitality was greatly injured, and it was extremely irrational to start a war with the martial Imperial Palace at this time. Furthermore, if they did not have the help of the martial Imperial Palace, it would be difficult for the true Devil Sect to survive this battle. However, Octagon Aniseed did not hesitate to go against the martial Imperial Palace for the sake of Su Yun. Good. 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 Very good. Shen Wu Huang was completely enraged. His body swelled up, and the muscles on his arms bulged. Strong winds blew in all directions, causing sand and stones to fly. A dense fighting intent had already filled the entire world. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. The people of my martial Imperial Palace will never compromise with anyone, even a god. Shen Wu Huang growled. With that, he was about to make his move, and fight with the arrogant devil cultivator. But at this moment, a low voice suddenly came from the distant horizon. Martial Monarch, stop. Just as the voice came, a large amount of black gas suddenly appeared in front of Octagon Aniseed. How? In the unseen world, it was as if a ghost was roaring in the ears of everyone present. That deep and oppressive voice could shake one's mind. Immediately after, the gale stopped, the battle intent disappeared, the sky darkened, and a large amount of devil chi appeared out of thin air. In the pitch-black sky, a pair of bloody eyes flashed for a moment, and then quickly disappeared. When it disappeared, a person was already standing in front of everyone. It was impossible to see what this person looked like. He was wrapped in a dense devil chi, and only a pair of blood-red eyes that were filled with killing intent could be seen. When they saw these eyes, everyone felt an inexplicable sense of fear and palpitation in their hearts. They were like two abysses. Once they stared at them, they would find it hard to extricate themselves. In the blink of an eye, all the people from the martial Imperial Palace were attracted by the blood eye. All of them looked at it in a daze, as if they had forgotten themselves, and the fighting spirit in their bodies had also disappeared. Don't stare into his eyes. Shen Wu Huang anxiously shouted. The deep roar was like thunder, waking up a portion of the strong people. Quick, cover their eyes. Otherwise, they will definitely fall into it. Shen Wu Huang shouted again. Those who had woken up hurriedly used their qi to cover the eyes of the others, preventing them from looking at the bloody eyes in the devil qi. However, at this time, the blood eye closed, and the people of the martial imperial palace automatically escaped from this terrifying intoxication. Seeing this action, Shen Wu Huang knew that the person who came did not have any ill intentions. However, he had also guessed who this person was. "Greetings, sect leader." At this time, Octagon Aniseed and the others all knelt down and bowed to the ball of devil chi. Every single devil cultivator's face was filled with sincerity and respect from the bottom of their hearts. It was as if they were worshipping the god in their hearts. The people of the martial imperial palace all revealed serious expressions. Such a strong demon was definitely troublesome. "You are the sect master of the true devil sect?" Shen Wu Huang frowned. "I have always heard of the martial imperial palace, Shen Wu Huang. He fights against the heavens and earth, acts tyrannically, and never admits defeat. Seeing him today, he truly lives up to his reputation." The voice of the sect master came out from the devil chi. "It seems like you are also planning to go against this emperor?" Shen Wu Huang snorted. "There's no point, so I won't do it," the sect master said indifferently. Hearing that, Shen Wu Huang snorted coldly. "Since that's the case, then bring your men and leave quickly." "It's fine to leave, but my devil sect's demon lord must be rescued. Otherwise, the people of my true devil sect will not be convinced." "Then what do you want?" Shen Wu Huang was annoyed again. "You don't want to fight, you don't want to leave, what? Do you still want my martial imperial palace to bow down to you?" "Absolutely not." "Then what do you want?" "Hand my granddaughter over to you, devil cultivator S?" "That's not what I meant." However, it was extremely necessary to hand it over to the supreme sect to exchange for the demon lord. The vice sect master's words were not wrong. If he did not save the demon lord, he would definitely die, and if the holy maiden returned to the supreme sect, she would still be able to live. Even if she was in the supreme sect, she would still be safe and sound. What I mean is that our true devil sect and your martial imperial palace will head to the supreme sect together and ask for people from them. Isn't that the best way? The sect master said indifferently. The words of the true devil sect master could be said to have given face to each other, and was also the only choice for the two sections. Although Shen Wu Huang was extremely unwilling, but as matters stood, he could only choose this way. In reality, although he was never afraid of battle, from the true devil sect master's blood-red eyes just now, his strength was probably extremely terrifying. It was not something that Octagon Aniseed, Round Demon and the others could compare to. The martial emperor himself was extremely surprised. Although Chi-Chi was strong, he did not care about it, and thought that the true devil sect master should be a little stronger than Chi-Chi. The rumored true devil sect was only SOSO, but seeing it today, he realized that he was completely wrong. The true devil sect was probably not as weak as he had imagined. If they were to fight, the people of the martial imperial palace would definitely not be able to gain an advantage in this true devil realm. "These two are Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue, right?" The true devil sect master spoke again. Even though he had his eyes closed, he could still see everything that was happening around him. Shin Shueshue and Su Shintian were slightly surprised. This was the first time the two of them had interacted with the true devil sect master. "You know us? The demon lord has talked about you before." Hearing that, Shin Shueshue's expression darkened. "Perhaps you are right, but there are some things that you should be honest about," the true devil sect master said indifferently. "I wonder what the two of you think? Are you willing to exchange your daughter for the safety of the demon lord?" Su Shintian was startled, then turned his gaze to Shin Shueshue. Shin Shueshue wiped the tears off his face. He did not say anything, and only nodded. Immediately, Su Shintian made his decision. "Let's save Yuner first, Luluo. There will still be a chance in the future." "Good, everything that the demon lord has done has not been in vain." The sect master nodded and said in a deep voice, "Since that's the case, Then let's not delay any longer and go to the Supreme Realm. The earlier we go, the safer the Demon Lord will be. Humph! Shen Wu Huang's face turned ugly, but he did not say anything. Sovereign! Just then, from the direction of Demon Mountain, a black and red light flew over, and an urgent voice called out. Looking up, it was the blood of the Demon Guard Captain. He flew over and bowed to the sect master. Then, he hurriedly approached and whispered a few words. In that moment, the true Devil Sect Master once again opened his blood eye. Chapter 778. What's wrong? Seeing the change in the true Devil Sect leader, Shen Wu Huang became vigilant. However, the true Devil Sect leader remained silent for a long time. In the end, he closed his eyes again and said indifferently, "Perhaps this method of ours won't work. Why? Could it be that something happened to Yuner?" Shen Shueshue's face was pale white. His body was on the verge of collapse, as though he was about to faint. It's not that something happened to the Demon Lord, it's that something happened to the Supreme Sect. The true Devil Sect leader secretly looked at Su Luluo, who was in the distance. Seeing that she was sitting cross-legged on the ground and was recuperating, he lowered his voice and said indifferently, "It is reported that there is nothing in the Supreme Realm right now." Shen Wu Huang frowned. "What do you mean by that?" "Bloodstains have come to report that the Supreme Realm is completely silent. There's nothing left." "Nothing? Where are the people from Supreme Sect?" Shen Wu Huang was startled. The sect master did not make a sound. Shen Wu Huang was silent for a moment, then shouted to the people from the Martial Imperial Palace, "You guys stay here and watch this girl, I will be back soon." With that, he rushed towards Demon Mountain. The sect master and Octagon Aniseed also followed. The three of them moved extremely fast, almost without stopping for a moment, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived at the top of Demon Mountain. After passing through the Bridge of Realms, the three of them stepped into the Supreme Realm Gate. However, at this moment, the gate to the Supreme Realm was a scene of defeat and silence. There was no one in front of the door, there were no traces of fighting, nor were there any profound chi floating around. It did not seem like a battle had occurred, but the door was slightly opened, it was pitch black inside. There was not a single bit of light seeping out, causing Octagon Aniseed, true Devil Sect leader, and Shen Wu Huang to be puzzled. Something must have really happened. Everyone's faces were ugly. "Greetings, Sect leader." At this moment, a figure flashed over and knelt in front of the three of them. With one look, it was the Devil Cultivator that Octagon Aniseed had sent to investigate. "What the hell happened?" the true Devil Sect leader asked. Reporting to Sect Master, this subordinate has received orders from the Vice Sect Master to monitor the movements of the Supreme Sect. However, this subordinate has been observing here for a long time, and discovered that not a single person from the Supreme Sect has suddenly disappeared. The Devil Cultivator said. "Not a single one is missing?" "That's right." After this subordinate found out about the end of the battle, he quietly hid himself and waited for the people of the Supreme Sect to enter the Supreme Realm before taking action. Not long after, this subordinate heard some strange sounds coming from the gate of the Supreme Realm, and after that, all the people at the gate entered the Supreme Realm and did not come out again. This subordinate does not know about the situation within the realm, so he did not dare to enter without permission, so he informed the sect master about this matter. This subordinate guessed that someone else might have found out that the Supreme Sect had made a move against my true Devil Sect, and secretly attacked the rear of the Supreme Realm. The people of the Supreme Sect have all gone to support the rear. If that's the case, I'm afraid we have the chance to counterattack. Even if someone ambushed the back of the Supreme Sect, they wouldn't lose their own gate. The sect master said indifferently, "The gate is wide open and there is no one guarding it. I think something big must have happened inside. Don't say anything more. We'll know once we enter." With that, the sect master took the lead and rushed over. A wisp of black smoke blew into the Supreme One Realm Gate. Octagon Aniseed and Shen Wu Huang followed. However, when the few of them entered, a pitch-black darkness instantly entered their eyes. There was nothing around. There was no wind. There were no clouds. There was nothing. No one. Not even light. There was no existence. This place was simply a desolate black space. It was like an ice-cold abyss that would never see the light of day. Did the people of Supreme Sect live in such a place, and cultivate and survive in such a place? The true Devil Sect Master and Shen Wu Huang would definitely not believe it. Everyone looked left and right and even flew thousands of miles in all directions, but they could not find a single object that was different from the black. Nothing. It was all nothingness. Everyone had given up. What exactly happened here? Did the people of Supreme Sect set up an illusion here? Octagon Aniseed looked around and said in a low voice. Impossible. Shen Wu Huang shook his head. My unparalleled absolute eyes can see through all illusions. This is not an illusion. What you all see is a real existence. But this is completely different from what I've heard of the Supreme Realm. 2 Sect Masters, Lord Marshal King, maybe. The people of Supreme Sect have been led away. The Devil Cultivator could not help but say, they might not be as strong as we imagined. After experiencing this crushing defeat, they were afraid that we would join hands and attack their Supreme Sect. Thus, in order to protect their sect, they migrated and fled to another place. Perhaps there is such a possibility. Shen Wu Huang nodded his head. He looked at the Devil Cultivator, his eyes revealing a trace of admiration. However, the true Devil Sect Master, who was surrounded by Devil Chi, said indifferently, no, someone has made a move on the Supreme Realm. Why? Everyone looked at him. However, the true Devil Sect Master did not say a word. He only raised his hand that was filled with Devil Chi and pointed above everyone's heads. They hurriedly looked up, but with just a glance they were completely shocked. It turned out that a large number of grayish-white vortexes had appeared above the heads of the two of them. These vortexes were of all sizes, either intertwined together or scattered in a messy manner. They were densely packed and could be seen everywhere. This ferocious sky was like the face of an evil spirit. What is this? The Devil Cultivator asked, puzzled. A distorted void. Octagon Aniseed put away his shocked face and muttered. A distorted void? The void is twisted? What does that mean? This means that someone has used an unimaginably powerful force here. This power has caused the void to distort, and this place no longer belongs to the Supreme Realm. It has long been destroyed, and if a person can move forward through the distorted void without being torn apart, they can enter other realms through this void. Octagon Aniseed said. As his words fell, the Devil Cultivator was dumbstruck. Space distortion? The interface was destroyed. The entire Supreme Realm. It had actually been destroyed? Could it be that it was done by the people of the Supreme Realm? No need. Since he was going to leave, why did he have to destroy the world? Could it be that he is afraid that we will seize their realm? Wait a minute. At this moment, Octagon Aniseed suddenly cried out in alarm. From the looks of it, he seemed to have thought of something. What's wrong, Vice Sect Leader? The true Devil Sect Leader opened his bloody eyes and looked at him. Octagon Aniseed suddenly clapped his hands and anxiously called out, Sect Leader, you have been in closed-door cultivation during this period of time. I did not have the time to report to you, but before we started the war with the Supreme Sect, a strange thing happened in the Sword World. Strange? The true Devil Sect Leader frowned. Are you referring to the matter of the Sword World's Thousand Cloud Sword Mountain being purged? Shen Wu Huang said indifferently. It's not that strange, it's just that the Supreme Expert has displayed his might. Those Immortal God stage experts all have this ability. Hearing that, Octagon Aniseed looked at Shen Wu Huang, but did not say anything, and only said to the true Devil Sect Leader in a low voice, Before this happened, the demon lord had gone to the sword world. With a simple sentence, he immediately woke up the true devil sect leader. When Su went to the sword world, such a shocking thing happened in the sword world, shocking several realms. It was said that no one knew who caused such a thing, but everyone knew that the incident this time was caused by the imperial battle robe, and a large number of experts in the sword world, as well as the people on the heroic sword list, had all died in the fight for the divine object. Due to the heavy casualties, the sword world was unable to recover from the setback, and from a powerful and prosperous realm, it instantly became a third-rate realm. Furthermore, because too many experts had died, many forces were leaderless, and were in chaos, to the point where fighting for power was common, and the sword world was in chaos because of this. However, Octagon Aniseed believed that the imperial battle robe had most likely been obtained by Su Yun, because back then, he was alone, and was able to deal with over 100,000 people in the Supreme Sect without being harmed in the slightest. However, Octagon Aniseed did not know how Su Yun did it. After all, he was not at the scene, so he did not know what had happened. And all of this in the Supreme Realm was just an inference. No one knew what exactly had happened. However, when Su Yun went to the Sword World, something like this happened in the Sword World. Now that he had come to the Supreme Realm, everything in the Supreme Realm had disappeared. Was this a coincidence? Sect leader, what should we do now? Seeing that the three of them were not speaking, Devil Cultivator immediately asked in a low voice. Immediately send people over and seal this place. Don't spread the news of the destruction of the Supreme Sect. Other than that, do your best to find out the whereabouts of the Demon Lord. I also want to know where the Supreme Sect went. No matter what, I want to see him alive, and I want to see his corpse dead. Yes, sir. Also, from today onwards, the True Devil Sect will enter a special state of alert. The True Devil Sect leader said again. Special level of alert? The Devil Cultivator was shocked. When dealing with the Supreme Sect, the True Devil Sect was only at the first level of alert. Why did they have to enter the special level after defeating the Supreme Sect? One had to know that the definition of a special level meant that everyone in the True Devil Sect had to be prepared to sacrifice themselves at any time. This was an attitude that should only be had when facing an unprecedented super enemy. Sovereign, why are you doing this? Because if the Supreme Sect did not migrate away, but was killed by a certain Supreme Expert, then the 10,000 worlds would immediately enter a state of turmoil. Before the True Devil Sect leader could say anything, Shen Wu Huang spoke up. Calamity? How could that be? If the Supreme Sect is destroyed, could it be that we will still be unlucky? Strictly speaking, yes, Octagon Aniseed, you do not understand the Supreme Sect, you do not know how this sect was born, and even more so, you do not understand the birth of the Supreme Sect leader. In fact, above the Supreme Sect, there is an even more terrifying power, and the Supreme Sect leader is inextricably linked to this power. I am thinking, if the Supreme Sect is really destroyed, I am afraid that this power will vent its anger on my True Devil Sect, and if that happens, the enemies we will have to face will be even greater. Therefore, we can only activate the special level of alert and have all the people in the sect prepare. The True Devil Sect leader said indifferently. Chapter 779. The True Devil Sect Lord's words were definitely not alarmist words. The Supreme Sect that everyone was seeing was too shocking. Even if they were to be told, no one would believe them. This matter was so strange, how could everyone not be on guard? Shen Wu Huang suddenly turned and said, now that such a thing has happened to the Supreme Sect, regardless of whether it was destroyed by someone or if it was defeated by us, the matter has already come to an end. This emperor still has matters to attend to, so I will not stay any longer. With that said, Shen Wu Huang turned and leaped, transforming into a ray of golden light. He left the realm gate and disappeared. He's leaving so fast. Octagon Aniseed held the back of his head and said with a smile. I'm afraid of getting into trouble. Oh? Was he afraid of the power behind the supreme sect? He, Shen Wu Huang, also has someone he is afraid of? Octagon Aniseed revealed a surprised expression. He, Shen Wu Huang, has never been afraid, but as the master of the martial imperial palace, he has to be responsible for the people below him. When a person has his own achievements, his own responsibility, and his own mission, even if he is not afraid of the heavens or the earth, he will still become timid. The true devil sect lord said indifferently. Hearing that, he thought for a moment, then nodded and said, Then what about the demon lord? Is the holy maiden going to be handed over to them? There's no other way, now that the people of the supreme sect have evaporated. Even if the holy maiden is in our hands, it will be useless. I think that when Shen Wu Huang returns this time, he will also think of a way to erase the holy maiden's memories. After all, if she knows that the supreme sect is no longer here, she will most likely prepare to die. On the surface, Shen Wu Huang does not acknowledge Su Luluo, but in reality, he still dotes on this granddaughter of his. The people of the martial imperial palace are all very emotional, but they also care about their face, which makes many people hate them. I hate it too. Octagon Aniseed laughed. This Su Luluo, her cultivation is extremely strong. To erase her memories, I'm afraid it will not be easy. Even that Su Luluo fell into her hands. That's not what we care about. Let's think of a way to deal with the enemy in the future and find the demon lord. The true devil sect leader said indifferently. In order to restore the prosperity of the true devil sect, there must be a devil cultivator to inherit the ancient tomb. I do not have the qualifications, and can only rely on the demon monarch. When he returns to the devil sect in the future, I will invite him to enter the ancient tomb. As he spoke, he floated out of the supreme realm. He watched quietly, his face revealing a trace of fatigue. The great battle of the supreme demons caused the people of the 10,000 worlds to feel nervous. However, paper could not contain fire. Both Qi Go and the sect master knew that sooner or later, the news of the supreme sect's disappearance would spread out, and what they were doing now was just to hide this matter as much as possible, so that the true devil sect would have enough time to prepare. The morning of Beiyang. Spirit birds were chirping non-stop on the treetops outside the house, and the magic formation protecting the house was rotating gently, producing a beautiful sound like the tinkling of spring water. Xiao Chui carried a bowl of spirit porridge and quickly walked into the house. Thud thud thud. Miss, are you awake? Xiao Chui said in a low voice. Even though there was still some uncontrollable excitement on her face, even though it had been a while since the incident, she was still unable to extricate herself from the joy. It was like a dream. Come in. A gentle voice came from inside. Hearing this, Xiao Chui gently pushed the door open and entered. There was a young girl in plain white clothes sitting in the room. She sat quietly in front of the window, looking at the blue sky and green willows outside. There was a deep loneliness in her eyes. It was Hui Ro Mu Yu. Xiao Chui carried the porridge and walked over. Miss, have some porridge. This is the spirit porridge made by the best chef in the Chamber of Commerce. If you drink it, your body will recover faster, and it will also increase your cultivation by quite a bit. Take advantage of the fact that the medicine hasn't dissipated yet. Drink it quickly. She placed the spiritual porridge on the table and said softly, I don't have an appetite. Hui Ro Mu Yu shook his head lightly. But, Xiao Chui, I realize that there are a lot of things that I seem to be familiar with. My head hurts and my memories are in a mess. I've been thinking about someone these past few days, thinking about Su Yun. Hui Ro Mu Yu spoke softly, his tone was especially lonely. She looked at the windowsill, a complicated look flashing at the bottom of her eyes. Her thoughts were myriad, but she couldn't sort them out. Alliance leader Su said that you have just recovered from a serious illness, and your body is still very weak in all aspects, especially in the mental aspect. You need to recuperate well, and in a year, perhaps all of your memories will be restored. So please don't worry, it's best not to think too much during this period of time. Xiao Chui said with a smile. Is that so? Then what about Su Yun? Hui Romu Yu turned to look at her. I don't know where Alliance leader Su went. Ever since he healed your injuries, he left. He's been gone for a few months now. Xiao Chui looked left and right, then moved closer and said, Miss, you don't know, after Alliance leader left, it can be said that Miss Qian Mei stood on top of the city wall every day, waiting for Alliance leader to return. Everyone who saw it was very worried. Sigh, thinking back to when the Alliance master returned, I saw that his expression was very frightening. I'm afraid that he had suffered some kind of injury. I wonder where he is now and how his injuries are. Is that so? Hui Romu Yu muttered, her eyes flickered, no one knew what she was thinking. Oh right, miss, I forgot to tell you, the old master and the others know that you are safe and sound, and all of them are overjoyed. I reckon that they should be rushing towards the main city right now, maybe they will arrive at night. Father, mother and the others. Hui Romu Yu muttered. However, the damage to her memories prevented her from developing too many emotions. To her, everyone around her was both familiar and unfamiliar. Perhaps after a year, he would know everything. When Shen Wu Huang returned to the vicinity of the Demon Mountain, Su Luluo was still meditating, and the people of the martial imperial palace had already surrounded her. Seeing that their father had arrived, Shen Xueshue and Su Shintian immediately walked over. Father, what happened? I'm fine. Shen Wu Huang shook his head. Father-in-law, what should we do now? Bring Luluo to the Supreme Sect? Su Shintian took a few steps forward, cupped his fists and said respectfully, No. Shen Wu Huang immediately shook his head. Bring Luluo back to the martial imperial palace. Then what about Yuner? Shen Xueshue immediately asked. Why do you care about him? Shen Wu Huang glanced at her and snorted. You can't even control your own daughter, and you still care about him? Not now. But, Shen Xueshue still wanted to say something, but Shen Wu Huang said solemnly, Shuer, I know how you feel, but the current situation is much more complicated than you imagined. We cannot bring Luluo to the Supreme Sect now, we absolutely cannot, and Su Yun might not be in the Supreme Sect, so it's useless for you to go, let's bring Luluo back first. Yuner is not in the Supreme Sect? Shen Xueshue was shocked. We'll talk about this when we get back. Shen Wu Huang's expression was especially serious. Seeing his father's expression, Shen Xueshue knew that the matter was not simple, so he did not say anything. Shen Wu Huang quietly took out a golden square box and walked towards Su Luluo. Have you decided to make a move on me? Su Luluo opened his eyes and stood up. Little girl, you can't be blamed for this. You should blame your father, your mother, and me, your grandfather. However, since I'm already here, I won't sit back and watch. Then, make your move. For the sake of the sacred Tao, I will choose to defend to the death. Su Liulua's expression was extremely calm. However, Shen Wu Huang did not give her the chance. He suddenly made his move and threw the golden box in his hand out. The box left his hand, his fingers moved quickly, and a large amount of fine white qi shot out from his fingertips. The qi smashed into the box, and it immediately opened, releasing a large amount of golden light that quickly surrounded Su Luluo. Clang! 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 The light suddenly materialized, turning into golden fences that surrounded Su Luluo tightly. Su Luluo immediately activated Limitless Profound Qi, wanting to break through the cage, but just as she was about to use her qi, Shen Wu Huang rushed over and struck the golden cage with his palm. Hua! Inside the cage, the golden qi immediately spread out, filling the small cage tightly. Although there were gaps in the cage, The chi could not leak out no matter what, and Su Luluo was quickly submerged by the golden chi. Father, what did you do to Luluo? Shin Shueshua's expression immediately tensed up, and rushed over to ask. Don't worry, Shue, I only used the martial emperor chi to seal her. It's like an ice cube, keeping her alive and completely unconscious. Shin Wu Huang said solemnly. This is the only way to control Luluo. Her current thoughts are still towards the Supreme Sect, her thoughts are too extreme. I am worried that if I capture her, she will immediately commit suicide. Shin Wu Huang said. Father's consideration is completely correct. This is very good. After bringing Luluo back to the Martial Imperial Palace, Shen Tian and I will make a trip to empty out, and ask Master to ask for another memory pill for Luluo to consume. No need. Shen Wu Huang shook his head and said indifferently, Your master wants to be at ease, he is already dead. What? Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua were immediately stunned. I wanted to be brainwashed by the people of the Supreme Sect, and was arranged to empty out the interior to preach. After the matter was exposed, I was killed by the emptiness realm expert. Shin Wu Huang said. With that said, Shin Shueshua's face immediately turned pale white. He sat on the ground in a daze, covering his face and sobbing. Su Shintian's expression was also extremely ugly, but in the end, he did not reveal anything. He only squatted down, hugged his wife, and comforted her softly. The technique to remove memories is not some high-level technique, it is very easy to find it. I will get someone to do it, but during this period of time, I am afraid I will not be able to get away. This magic treasure needs to be sealed in this chi every day, otherwise I will not be able to suppress Luluo. If not, I would have taken it out earlier. Then let's hurry up and find a way to erase our memories. Su Shintian said. Yes. Shin Wu Huang nodded, then said to the other people of the Martial Imperial Palace, Let's go, return to the Martial Imperial Palace. Yes, sir. The group of people leaped up and flew into the sky. The battle between the Supreme Sect and the True Devil Sect had officially come to an end. But everyone knew that it was not over. Chapter 780. In the quiet bamboo forest, there were more than 20 young men and women quietly sitting there. They sat on the ground, looking forward with serious expressions, their expressions meticulous. At the very front of them was an old man dressed in an emerald green robe. He had a sage-like demeanor, chicken skin, and crane hair. Although the old man looked old, his eyes were bright and full of spirit. He let out a loud and clear voice as he explained something. Every word he said was thought-provoking. The people below listened attentively, and no one dared to disturb the old man's speech. As the old man spoke, the people below listened. Time passed, and 7 days had passed. Today's lesson will end here. Go back and comprehend it properly. Train harder. The old man said. Everyone got up, bowed to the old man seriously, and then left. Su Yun, who was sitting in the corner, also stood up and prepared to leave. This was the ultimate martial sacred plane, and he was currently in the Master Subhoodie's class. The students left in 2s and 3s, leaving him alone. Su Yun, you stay. At this time, the old man, the Master Subhoodie, spoke. Su Yun stopped, cupped his fists and said, Yes, Master. Master Subhoodie watched as everyone left one by one, and walked over. He looked at Su Yun from head to toe, and smiled. Unknowingly, you have been here for almost half a year, how do you feel now? With the blessing of my master, Su Yun feels much better. If I am calm, I will be no different from an ordinary person, and I will not be able to feel the slightest bit of hostility in my body. Su Yun said. This place was quiet and tranquil, like a paradise. There were no disputes, no fights, no matter if it was for mortals or spirit cultivator, it was the best place to cultivate. Yes, it's a good thing that it's getting better. Master Subhoodie smiled benevolently. Just stay here and recuperate. Don't think about anything else. When this evil aura is completely dispelled in your body, you can return to the ultimate martial world. I will listen to Master's arrangements. Master Subhoodie nodded his head and laughed. All right, you can go now. If you have anything you don't understand, you can come and discuss with me at any time. Thank you, Master. Su Yun bowed once more, then turned and left the bamboo forest. Outside the bamboo forest, there was a clear stream, and there was a small thatched hut beside the stream. The inside and outside of the hut were very simple, and there were no arrays set up. It was simply a house for mortals without any cultivation. Perhaps even mortals would not live in such a simple thatched hut. He walked to the front of the thatched hut, pushed open the door, and walked in. Then, he sat cross-legged in the hut. He had been here for almost half a year, and every time, Su Yun would accompany the students of the Master Subhoodie to listen to his lessons. There were no disputes, no killings, no deceptions, no unfathomable intentions. All that was left here was the harmony of nature. The ultimate martial sacred plane was a place that stood aloof from worldly affairs. The spirit energy here was abundant, and the wise were as numerous as a forest. Every day here, the level of one's state of mind would increase. In the month that he first entered the ultimate martial sacred plane, Su Yun was simply unable to suppress the evil aura in his body. Every day, the Master Subhoodie would use his own dense spirit life chi to suppress the evil aura, and only after an entire month did Su Yun get better. It could be said that without the Master Subhoodie, Su Yun would have long since become a walking corpse. In this life, Su Yun was most grateful to these masters. Regardless of whether it was the Sword Elder back then or the Master Subhoodie now, he respected and was grateful to them from the bottom of his heart. If not for them, Su Yun understood that he would not be here today. He took a deep breath, looked at the gradually setting sun, and slowly closed his eyes. The cultivation pavilions built by the other students were far away from here. Although they had stayed here for a long time, it was difficult for Su Yun to blend in with the spirit cultivator. In order to not attract the attention of others, he used the Imperial Battle Robe to change his cultivation to the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master, which was inconspicuous in the ultimate martial sacred plane. Furthermore, Su Yun would always be silent in class. He would not speak, nor would he speak, nor would he discuss with the other spirit cultivators after class. He was simply like an enigmatic gourd, and over time, people would treat him as air. In fact, it was not that Su Yun did not want to blend in with these people, but in Su Yun's eyes, every move of these people was already difficult to arouse his interest. The most important thing was that Su Yun did not want them to stir up the evil aura in his body, and if he interacted with them too much, there would definitely be anger. And the current Su Yun could not be angry at all. After meditating for 4 to 5 hours, Su Yun slowly opened his eyes. The hostility has been suppressed to the lowest level. What I need to do now is to dilute it bit by bit. Su Yun muttered, but there was no deliberate method for this kind of thing. He could only let nature take its course. He walked out of the house and looked at the huge and bright moon in the sky of the ultimate martial sacred plane. He sat on a large rock and quietly comprehended. In his mind, he thought back to what the Master Subhoodie had said. He was very surprised that there was actually such a wise man like the Master Subhoodie in this world. His comprehension of nature and life were so profound that it made people gasp in amazement. Every word he said revealed the way of human nature. No wonder he was called the great sage of the ultimate martial sacred plane. Although the Master Subhoodie's cultivation was not high, his wisdom was unparalleled. Who is it? Su Yun seemed to have heard something. He turned his head and called out, "Don't be nervous, I'm your senior sister." A slightly nervous voice came out from the darkness. Senior sister? Su Yun's brows relaxed. He looked towards the source of the voice, and saw a delicate and pretty lady walking over from the side of the stream. The woman was dressed in a green lotus dress with 2 braids on her head. Her facial features were exquisite, her skin was fair, and she looked obedient and cute. Su-Yun felt that this lady was extremely unfamiliar, but from her words, she should be a student of the Master Subhoodie. "Your name is Su-Yun, right?" The woman walked over. "Yes, you are. My name is Chen Mo-ru, your senior sister. I became a disciple of the previous master 7 years ago, and you have only been a disciple for half a year, so according to seniority, I am your senior sister." Chen Mo-ru laughed. Hearing that, Su-Yun could not help but shake his head. "Are you trying to take advantage of me? What's there to take advantage of?" Chen Mo-ru shook his head. "Furthermore, your cultivation is not as high as mine. I am a 4th stage Sky Spirit Master Cultivator. Do I still need to take advantage of you? I'm just curious. You have been a disciple of the previous master for half a year, but you have always been very unsociable. This won't do. I realize that other than a few direct disciples, no one else has said a single word to you, right? Do you not like to communicate with others?" "Yes," Su-Yun said without any trace of politeness. He then jumped off the boulder and planned to return to the house. His straightforward attitude caused Chen Mo-ru to be a little stunned, but after thinking about it carefully, he felt relieved. However, when Su-Yun left, Chen Mo-ru unexpectedly followed him. "Su-Yun, you can't do this. A person who has been in seclusion for a long time will definitely have a heart demon. The Tao is natural, everything is natural. If you have any difficulties in your heart, I think it will be of great help to you if you speak of it directly." "Thank you, senior sister, for your kind intentions, but Su-Yun does not have any difficulties. It is just that he does not like to interact with others. As the saying goes, it is easy to change mountains and rivers. It is hard to change one's nature. Senior sister, please do not make things difficult for me." Su-Yun walked into the straw hut, cupped his fists, and then immediately closed the door. Bang! The door was closed. Chen Mo-ru was extremely depressed after being slammed in the door. She shook her head, turned around, and walked towards her own cultivation house. At this moment, inside the cultivation pavilion, a few spirit cultivators were sitting together. Seeing Chen Mo-ru enter, everyone's gaze turned towards her. "Mo-ru, how is it? Did you manage to get anything out of him?" A man stood up and asked. "How can I get anything out of him? That guy doesn't want to talk to me at all." Before I could even say a few words, he went into the house and closed the door. Chen Mo-ru had a helpless look on her face. "Is that so?" The man frowned and began to think. "Big brother, it's not good for us to investigate him like this, right? What's wrong with that? We're just curious." The man shook his head and said, "Although this person has not been a disciple of the previous master for long, the previous master has shown great love to him, and those senior brothers and sisters seem to be acquainted with him. I see that his cultivation is only so, but for him to be able to receive such great love, maybe his background is not ordinary. If we investigate, we might be able to befriend him and obtain some benefits. We came here to cultivate our mental state, but we did this kind of thing in secret. If our master were to find out, I'm afraid he would be unhappy." Another short-haired woman at the side said, "That's right, big brother. Let's forget about it. Who cares who that guy is, let's just do our own thing." Everyone was a little unwilling. When they first came to the ultimate martial sacred plane to become disciples of their previous master, they actually all had different intentions. However, following the teachings of their previous master, many people who harbored evil intentions had already wholeheartedly turned to good, and no longer had any distracting thoughts. Of course, there was a process to get rid of distracting thoughts. I say, you guys, seriously, forget it. Since all of you are so afraid, then let's do it this way. The man was rather unhappy. He waved his hand, stood up, and walked to the side. He sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to meditate. Everyone looked at each other, not saying a word. Suddenly, dong! A dull sound exploded, followed by a violent tremor. The earth shook crazily, as if there was an earthquake. The people who were still meditating stood up and looked around in surprise. What happened? I don't know. Quick, go out and take a look. The people shouted. But before they could walk out of the room, a terrifying profound chi suddenly descended from the sky, directly tearing the room into pieces. Be careful! An explosive roar sounded out, but the spirit cultivator with sharp eyes and quick hands had already activated the chi cover to block the profound chi that was pressing down. However, the profound chi was too dense, the chi cover was instantly broken, and it directly struck the people in the room, causing them to fall to the ground and vomit blood non-stop. When he raised his head, he saw a large number of people dressed in plain yellow robes flying towards him from the sky. Are these the disciples of Old Man Subhuti? Kill them all! An incomparably cold voice came out from the group of yellow-robed people. Yes, sir. A dozen or so spirit cultivators separated from the crowd and pounced towards the group of people. Everyone's face changed. They immediately crawled up from the ground, activated their profound strength, and frantically flew towards the location of the Master Subhuti. Chapter 781. Su Yun had naturally sensed the commotion outside long ago. He pushed open the door to look, only to see a few huge fireballs the color of lava smashing towards his straw hut at an extremely fast speed. Before he could even react, the fireball had already smashed onto the roof of the straw hut, directly smashing the straw hut that Su Yun had painstakingly built for half a month into ashes. Su Yun looked at his own nest and was speechless. Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive. Shouts could be heard from afar. A large number of yellow-robed spirit cultivators rushed towards the pavilion by the stream. The scholars inside all rushed out, either fighting together with them, or turning around to escape. Flames soared into the sky, profound technique flew everywhere, blood splattered all over the ground, it was a complete mess. Seeing such a chaotic scene, Su Yun's eyes that were already clear immediately turned red again, and his calm state of mind also began to surge violently. Killing intent, blood chi, and a tyrannical and restless aura rippled back and forth in this pure land. Su Yun could barely remember how long it had been since he last came into contact with this kind of aura. He raised his hand and slowly wiped it from his space bag, taking out a huge sword sheath. Su Yun, don't be angry, quickly leave this place, I can settle this. If you get angry, then all your efforts during this period of time will be in vain. Just then, a shout came from afar, and Lanner saw a large number of Master Subhuti leading dozens of disciples flying over. Hearing his teacher's voice, Su Yun's entire body trembled, and his feverish brain also became clearer. Looking at the yellow-robed men, Su Yun took a deep breath, cupped his fists and said, Teacher's words, this student will definitely remember, but this student will not leave, nor will he be angry. If these people hurt teacher, this student will definitely not let them off. With that, Su Yun immediately sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and started chanting the Clear Heart incantation. Seeing this scene, the Master Subhuti was both emotional and helpless. He could only sigh, then turned his head to look at the yellow-robed men, and said, Wan Hong Shah's people, what are you doing here? Seeing that the Master Subhuti had arrived, the yellow-robed men of Wan Hong Shah did not dare to act recklessly, and gathered together. The leader was a middle-aged man with a long beard who flew out, coldly staring at the Master Subhuti, and said, Old Man Subhuti, stop pretending, how could you not know why we are here today? Let me ask you, did my sworn brother Qian Li Fei die by your hands? Why do you say that? Master Subhuti shook his head. Li Wanhong, your Wan Hong Shah has committed many evil deeds, and has committed many crimes, to the point where it has reached the point where it angers both men and gods. Li Wanhong's face flushed red when he heard this, as though all the little plans in his heart had been seen through by these fellows, and he flew into a rage out of humiliation. "Cut the crap, Master Subhoodie, my brother's death was caused by you, you can't get away with it, today, if you don't hand over the human bone cauldron and apologize to me for my brother's death, otherwise, I will definitely not let this matter rest. All of you, don't even think about living in peace." What a joke. Li Wanhong, don't you know who my teacher is? You actually dare to behave atrociously in the ultimate martial sacred plane. In this sacred plane, who knows how many supreme experts respect my teacher as their teacher. If they knew that you were behaving atrociously here, they would definitely rush over to crush you to death. You are already facing a great calamity, yet you still dare to make such a ruckus here. The Master Subhoodie had been in the sacred plane for so many years, and his foundation had long since stabilized. How could he be so easily shaken by others? Is that so? Li Wanhong's eyes were filled with viciousness as he said in a deep voice, "Without sufficient preparation, do you think Laozi will casually court death? Let me tell you the truth, I am the only one who has come today. I even specially invited the ultimate martial world's spiritual master Fire Lion. The spiritual master's cultivation is at the second stage of the Spirit Emperor. He is the master of the domain Lord of the Sky Dragon domain, and is also a famous figure in the ultimate martial world. In this small ultimate martial sacred plane, what supreme expert can compare to the spiritual master Fire Lion?" With that, Li Wanhong turned around and opened up a path. A woman wearing a fiery red leather robe immediately flew out from the crowd. The woman looked serious, with many wrinkles on her face, as if she was old. Her figure was thin and shriveled, but the fiery red leather coat made her look a bit bloated. There were also long red hairs on the coat that swayed in the wind. When the woman appeared, Master Subhoodie's face revealed a trace of surprise. "Adept Fire Lion, I didn't expect you to come as well. Master, long time no see. How have you been?" Adept Fire Lion said indifferently. Hearing that, both sides were surprised. They never thought that Master Subhoodie and Adept Fire Lion would actually know each other. Master Subhoodie shook his head lightly, and said, "Adept Fire Lion, your cultivation is strong, your experience are different from ordinary people. I think, if it was you, you would be more rational. What kind of person Li Wanhong is, you should know better than me. This kind of existence should not help the evildoer, but should persuade him to return to the right path." "The right path?" A strange smile appeared on Adept Fire Lion's face. "What is the right path? Is it your mouth full of natural principles, the Tao of harmony?" Master Subhoodie, don't be naive. The true Tao is built on supreme cultivation and strength. A person without strength, what right path do you have to talk about? What right path do you have to protect your pitiful right path? Hand it over, the human bone cauldron that Qian Li Fei left behind. If you take it out quickly, you might be able to avoid a battle and let your people lose less blood. Human bone cauldron? Are you also doing this for the human bone cauldron? Master Subhoodie stared at Adept Fire Lion and said solemnly, "This kind of evil cauldron, the evil energy is strong, it is most suitable to be used to refine those terrifying forbidden medicines. Could it be that you want Li Wanhong to refine the Morning God powder? You don't have to worry about that, just hand over the human bone cauldron." Adept Fire Lion, let me advise you, this kind of medicine is actually not a good medicine. Cultivation is a gradual cycle, you can't take shortcuts. Relying on medicine to forcefully raise your cultivation, it will only be harmful to you. The Master Subhoodie said. "I've already said that you don't need to worry about this." Adept Fire Lion seemed to have lost his patience, his expression became ugly, and the killing intent in his eyes gradually grew stronger. "Now I will give you 10 breaths of time to consider. Hand over the human bone cauldron. If you don't hand it over, I can only rely on myself to get it." After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and began to count. Adept Fire Lion was different from Li Wanhong. Her cultivation was extremely strong, and her reputation was extremely resounding. The students of the Master Subhoodie had all heard of this person, but no one had expected that Li Wanhong would actually invite such an expert over today. With Adept Fire Lion here, even Master Subhoodie might not be able to easily suppress him. It seemed like today's matter would not end so easily. There's no need to think about it. Master Subhoodie shook his head and said indifferently, I will not hand over such an evil cauldron like the human bone cauldron, and if you want to refine forbidden medicine, you will definitely harm those innocent people. Although I, Master Subhoodie, am not a saint, I should still protect the natural way of the world. If you want to forcefully take the cauldron, you will have to pass through me first. With that, Master Subhoodie turned his head and said to the students behind him, You guys should leave first. This matter has nothing to do with you guys. If you guys stay here, you will only be implicated. Hurry up and leave. How can we leave just like that? Just as Master Subhoodie finished speaking, the students rushed forward with righteous indignation, blocking the way in front of Master Subhoodie. Teacher, you've taught us so much and allowed us to understand so much. How can we just leave like this? Filial piety is the most important of all virtues, and a teacher is a father. How can we abandon our father and leave? Teacher, do you want us to be unfilial people? Furthermore, these fellows are stubborn and committed crimes. If we were to leave just like that, wouldn't that be going against the laws of nature? The students shouted loudly, and not a single one of them left. Seeing that, the Master Subhoodie sighed again and again. He knew that based on what he had instilled into these people, they would definitely not leave. Since things had already developed to this point, it was obvious that it was impossible to avoid a fight. Is this fellow cultivator Adept Fire Lion? I have something that I would like to talk to you alone. I wonder if that is possible? At this moment, a voice came from the side. Hearing that, Adept Fire Lion looked over, only to see a man dressed in a black robe standing up, staring at him as he spoke. Chapter 782. What are you? A nameless person dares to speak in such a tone in front of me? Spiritual Master Fire Lion stared at the guy who suddenly appeared in displeasure. She casually glanced at his cultivation and realized that he was only at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master. She immediately snorted, her face filled with disdain. However, this person was not afraid at all. He only used an expression as calm as water and said to Spiritual Master Fire Lion, Is Spiritual Master afraid of me? If you're afraid, then just say it. Just pretend that I didn't say anything. If you're not afraid, why don't you dare to talk to me? You don't need to use any tricks, because I'm not afraid of you at all. Forget it, since you're about to die, I'll listen to what you have to say. After Spiritual Master Fire Lion finished speaking, he descended from the sky and stood in front of Su Yun. She deliberately released her chi, like a huge mountain landing on the ground, giving off an incomparably intense shock. Su Yun, don't act recklessly, quickly sit down and calm your heart and focus. Seeing that, the Master Subhoodie immediately became anxious and shouted, Teacher, don't worry about me. I'll take care of this. Don't worry, I won't get angry and I won't make a move. I'll try my best to resolve this peacefully. Su Yun said while beaming, with a harmless look on his face. Spiritual Master Fire Lion frowned. Generally speaking, if a first-stage Sky Spirit Master cultivator stood in front of him, he would not even be able to withstand his aura. Most of them would be so scared that they would kneel on the ground and not even be able to raise their heads. Maybe this guy had some tricks up his sleeve. Spiritual Master Fire Lion thought. Su Yun looked around but did not say anything. Seeing that, Spiritual Master Fire Lion raised her hand and waved it in the air. A circle of fiery red chi shot out from her palm. The chi circled around the two of them, turning into a five-sided square barrier, isolating the two of them from the surroundings. "Can you say it now?" Spiritual Master Fire Lion said indifferently. She crossed her arms across her chest, her face full of contempt as she looked at Su Yun from the corner of her eyes. Of course, deep in her eyes, there was still a little anger. If Su Yun could not say anything and realized that he was just toying with her, Su Yun would probably die on the spot. An existence of the Sky Spirit Master was teasing a tyrant of the Spirit Emperor. Even if he was killed, no one would dare to say anything, because this in itself was courting death. However, Su Yun did not say anything. He only took out an order badge from the space bag and handed it over to the Fire Lion Taoist Master. When the order badge appeared, the tyrannical devil chi spread out. Su Yun's originally not bad face immediately paled, but he endured it and did not say a word. The token was thick and heavy, and there was a devil carved on its surface. It was extremely terrifying, and the ice-cold aura and pitch-black luster made her tremble with fear. It was as if thousands of needles were shooting out from the token. Seeing the medallion, Taoist Master Fire Lion was stunned. She stared at it for a while, then hurriedly took the medallion and carefully examined it. However, a moment later, her face was filled with surprise. This is, Spiritual Master Fire Lion, although this is the first time we have met, Master Subhoodie is my teacher. I hope that you can give me some face and not make things difficult for him. Let's just forget about this matter. Su Yun said indifferently. Taoist Master Fire Lion came back to his senses and held onto the order badge tightly. There aren't many people who know about this token, but there aren't a few either. How do I know if the token in your hand is real or fake? It has been a long time since the Devil Cultivator took over that position. Then you should have heard that the new Demon Lord of the True Devil Sect has indeed inherited the throne. But it won't be you. Taoist Master Fire Lion said solemnly. How can a mere first-stage Sky Spirit Master existence inherit the position of Demon Lord? Stinking brat, don't try to coax me. Something like cultivation? Can you see through it with just your eyes? Su Yun raised his head and said indifferently. As his words fell, the aura around his body underwent an earth-shattering change. With the activation of the Imperial Battle Robe, with the help of the power of the Saint Robe, his aura immediately changed. Taoist Master Fire Lion was shocked. He could not help but take 2 steps back, and when he looked at Su Yun again, he saw that he seemed to have become a completely different person, and everything had become completely different. Upon closer inspection, Taoist Master Fire Lion was completely shocked. This time, he couldn't see it clearly at all. What was going on? Taoist Master Fire Lion anxiously activated her magic treasure and looked at it again. With just a glance, her face turned pale and her entire body started to tremble. 5th stage of the Spirit Emperor. At this moment, the aura that this fellow was releasing was actually that of a 5th stage Spirit Emperor. In the blink of an eye, the world had turned upside down. Such a shocking change made it impossible for anyone to believe what they were seeing. You? How could your cultivation be like this? Why did it suddenly turn out to be? It actually, Taoist Master Fire Lion was already speechless from shock, her entire body was trembling. Although she was at the 2nd stage of the Spirit Emperor, compared to someone at the 5th stage of the Spirit Emperor, she was as weak as an ant. I won't fight with you today. Su Yun kept the Demon Lord token and said indifferently, but if you really want to fight, I think there are many people who will fight with you. If you continue like this, perhaps the final result will be very unexpected. After all, the Master Subhoodie was extremely famous in the ultimate martial sacred plane, and many of the people of the sacred plane had received guidance from the Master Subhoodie. If Wan Hong Sha's men were to injure his master, how could they leave so easily? Sect leader, what should we do now? Even the real person has left, are we still going to continue? A yellow-robed gang member leaned over and asked in a low voice. Li Wanhong was at a loss of what to do. Sect leader, it's best if you leave quickly. When you went to invite Taoist Master Fire Lion, she agreed quite happily, but now that she suddenly left, I'm afraid it has something to do with the person she spoke to. Another person also came over and said, That's right, sect leader, that person is probably not simple. If we act recklessly, we will most likely suffer. Why don't we leave for now? There's still a long way to go, and the human bone cauldron is in the hands of Old Man Subhoodie, so he won't be able to escape. Hearing that, Li Wanhong also felt that it made sense. Now that he no longer had anything to rely on, if he continued, he would only suffer a loss, so he could only nod his head and admit defeat. Old Man Subhoodie, consider yourself lucky today, but this matter will not be let go just like that. I will definitely avenge my brother. Let's go. With that, he turned around and waved his hand to leave. However, the Master Subhoodie did not have the slightest intention of keeping them, and only quietly watched them leave. Is the Master not going to make a move? Su Yun asked as he walked over. They can't be taught. There's nothing we can do. The Master Subhoodie said helplessly. Are we just going to let them leave? Su Yun said indifferently. If they leave, they will definitely come back. This time, they can stop them, but what about next time? What about the next time? If the thief doesn't die, it will always be a disaster. So, this is the difference between you and me. Master Subhoodie sighed and said, But this is also one of my shortcomings. I believe in letting nature take its course, although you have accepted my teachings, and are also trying to let nature take its course, but in a certain aspect, you are still persevering in the belief that man can conquer the heavens. Perhaps you do not feel it, but subconsciously it is revealed. Hearing that, Su Yun lowered his head and thought for a while, then asked, Isn't that good? In this world, everything good and bad, right and wrong, is decided by people. What you think is good might be wrong in the eyes of others. Su Yun, in the state of mind, there is no need to completely follow the logic of others. You can follow your own thoughts and attitude to do it. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately cupped his fists. This student has learned his lesson. Chapter 783. Although they did not know what had happened, the students could all see that Spiritual Master Fire Lion's departure was definitely caused by Su Yun. Adding on the conversation between Master Subhoodie and Su Yun, the students became even more curious about Su Yun. Not long after Wan Hongsha's men left, the powerful spirit cultivators from all over the ultimate martial sacred plane came to visit and inquire about the situation. After knowing that their master was fine, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, a portion of the students scoffed. In their minds, some people might really have found out about this matter very late and did not have the time to come and help. However, some people knew about this but did not come on purpose, because they were afraid of offending Wan Hongsha and Spiritual Master Fire Lion. However, no matter what kind of person they were, Master Subhoodie always treated them sincerely and did not ask about this matter. Su Yun was the same. The straw hut had been burned down, so he could only think of a way to build another straw hut. Towards the other students' questions, he kept his mouth shut and tried his best to stay away from the crowd. He continued to be alone and focused on his cultivation. In order to avoid being disturbed by others, he did not even say anything about what had happened at Master Subhoodie's place. He only sent someone to inform Octagon Aniseed that he was still safe and sound. Octagon Aniseed knew that Su Yun was not captured by the Supreme Sect, so he heaved a sigh of relief and told the people of the Devil Sect to stop searching for Su Yun. However, Su Yun did not say anything. He did not dare to imagine the scene from back then. It would once again entice his killing intent, causing the evil chi in his body to go berserk. Helpless, Octagon Aniseed could only continue to send people to investigate the sudden disappearance of the Supreme Sect. After Wan Hongsha's men left, the matter came to an end. The master subhoodie was still the same as usual, traveling around or giving lessons to students. Every day, there would be many spirit cultivator who would come to visit the master subhoodie. This seemingly quiet place could not be said to be absolutely quiet, but there was one thing that satisfied Su-yun, and that was that he was happy to be quiet. However, it was impossible for his heart to calm down forever. He had suppressed the evil aura, but he could not suppress his longing. He had been here on and off for almost a year, but he was always thinking about his parents, thinking about his sister, thinking about Hu Qianmian, thinking about Long Xianli, and Hui Romuyu. He did not know how she was doing, but of course the person he was thinking about the most was Qing. After so long, the longing in Su-yun's heart grew by the day. He could not wait to immediately head to the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to find Qing. However, even though he missed her, Su-yun understood the current situation. If he did not resolve all the evil qi in his body, then he would not have much time to see Qing in the future. On this day, Su-yun continued to follow the instructions given by the master subhoodie. He chanted an incantation and sat cross-legged in meditation. He did not circulate his qi and returned the qi meridian and spirit core to their original state. After he finished his homework, he started to wander around the quiet and beautiful ultimate martial sacred plane. Of course, the places he went to were all places where there were few people. The master subhoodie had given him a mental cultivation method. This mental cultivation method was not of much help to increase his cultivation, but it was extremely helpful to his mental cultivation. He sat in front of the waterfall, silently reciting the mantra and gazing at the waterfall. His heart was abnormally cold. He took a deep breath and stared at the waterfall. For some reason, the more he looked at the waterfall, the more entranced he became. He clearly wasn't thinking about anything, but he was so quiet. Was he in a daze? Su-yun was puzzled. Roar. Suddenly, a leopard's roar came from behind him. In this silent valley, such a ruthless roar sounded out, causing people to jump in fright. Su-yun turned his head, only to see a leopard with an emerald-green body walking towards him. The leopard's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already scurried to a large rock not far away. Its entire body was green, with spots like leaves, and rows of barbs grew on its back, like the thorns of a wooden sculpture. What made people gasp in amazement was that wherever it passed, regardless of whether it was the flowers, plants, or trees, they would all flourish, with hundreds of flowers blooming and green grass thriving. This is the wooden leopard? Su-yun was startled for a moment. The wooden leopard was a relatively rare type of fierce beast in the ultimate martial sacred plane. It had a strange temperament, an extremely strong desire to attack, and loved to eat the meat of the spirit cultivator. However, what was strange was that wherever the wooden leopard went, regardless of whether it was the flowers, plants, or trees, all of them would show signs of flourishing, as though they were the messengers of nature. Looking at the wooden leopard, it probably wanted to swallow Su-yun to fill its stomach. It was not suitable for Su-yun to use the profound strength, so if he wanted to chase away the wooden leopard, he could only rely on brute force. His eyes suddenly widened as he glanced at the wooden leopard. 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. He was considered quite strong among the wooden leopards. Su-yun stood up, with his hands behind his back. He was prepared to rely on brute force to fight with the wooden leopard. Roar!